dudes.
Represents a clear and present danger to the national security of the United States.
You have no idea what men are.
Welcome back to Clear and Present Dudes, Season 2, Episode 2. Thank you for joining us. Today we are going to talk about the 1986 crime thriller movie Manhunter, directed by Michael Mann, written screenplay by Michael Mann, based on the novel by Thomas Harris, Red Dragon. I am Mike Barn. I'm joined by Rory O'Toole.
Hello.
And Sanya Bjorkson, who has come back to us.
Yes, he's back.
Yes, I apologize for being absent without leave. I request a gun and 1 bullet.
5 minutes alone, then a muffled gunshot is heard all the way from Germany.
And once again, he hit the floor.
We don't talk about that. Negligent discharges never happen.
Shorty got low. Right. Gentlemen, this is the second and final of Michael Mannuary 2026. Guys, we selected these movies by doing a vote in our WhatsApp group. Just a peek behind the curtain there. What made you choose Manhunter, Rory O'Toole? I know you're very passionate about this film.
What didn't make me choose the visuals alone are incredibly striking. This is one of those films you could just stick on while listening to just the dopest, weedinest, greenest kind of music and have a cinematic experience. The performance of Francis Dollarhide is iconic. He's truly one of the greatest movie killers, I think, in this film. There's just something about the character Dollarhide and how he's shown in this film is amazing. The way this film skates so close to being an American Giallo film, and sometimes does indeed enter that kind of in its own way. It's not like a straight-up Giallo film, much like it's also not a straight-up detective thriller. It neatly dodges past a lot of the tropes you'd expect to see in it. It's got so much of Michael Mann's pared down, yet also full when it needs to be, rich when it needs to be storytelling. It has this driving sense of immediacy, and it's just fucking weird. It's my kind of film.
Thank you, Rory. It is weird. That is probably the one word I would use to describe this movie. And I'm trying to imagine what it must have been like to be a cinema goer in 1986. The book was a sensation. So the book Red Dragon is the first Thomas Harris novel that features Hannibal Lecter. Obviously, he would get much more success and fame and infamy and all that kind of good stuff from 91's The Silence of the Lambs, where the role of Lecter would be immortalised by Anthony Hopkins. It would go on to win 5 Oscars. Anthony Hopkins would get an Oscar himself for being in 14 minutes of the film. Crazy. So yeah, in terms of iconic performances and that. But this movie, 1986, Red Dragon, didn't get to be called Red Dragon. They changed the name of the movie. Dino De Laurentiis, the producer, changed the name of the movie because he thought it was a bad omen, because another movie from the year prior called The Year of the Dragon did really badly. And then, spoiler alert, this also did really badly in the box office. So weird. It didn't work. Didn't try to, yeah. But, yeah, like you say, man, this movie is so strange. And when I was watching it, I watched it again yesterday, in preparation for this, and I thought, man, this movie is cooked out. I think a big bit of the context for this is that this movie came out and was presumably shot and probably written by Mann around the same sort of time period as Miami Vice was just taken off. So what you get is a grittier, kind of more fluorescent, less cool. There's no MTV sheen about it. There's no the music in it isn't even, apart from one song at the end, which was in Miami Vice, the rest of the whole movie is just this grimier, more horrible, gross, degenerate version of what Miami Vice was doing. Sanya, what was your initial impressions of?
I think weird is probably the word to go with, really. So visually very, very calm, sometimes though in a rather anxiety-inducing way. It was not quite as grim as I had expected it to be, going off of the description I'd read beforehand, but in other places it was way weirder than I had anticipated as well. Felt a bit weird and didn't really have a sense of time while watching it as well. So I just was casually watching the film, and then I paused it for a minute and noticed that it's already been it had already been going for over an hour, and it didn't feel like that. I was like, wow, when did that happen? So yeah, it felt like something you could lose yourself in, and what really weirded me out was that sort of shift in between. when it suddenly takes the killer's perspective,
Mm.
and then it suddenly turns into not into a thriller, but like into a sort of bit of an action film from his perspective. And that was a bit weird. It was a sort
Really
of
good take.
really, really big change of pace, I felt like.
That's a really interesting point, actually. Yeah, I think that's a. I hadn't really thought about it too much myself until you said it.
Let's just get into the nitty-gritty of the movie. Just to tell all our listeners, all our new listeners, hopefully you'll get more new listeners every episode, that this is a spoiler cast. So we are gonna ruin this film for you. If you've not seen it, there's still time to watch it. We'll be here in 2 hours' time. We're going nowhere.
Cool. Right. So the movie opens with Will Graham, who is a former FBI criminal profiler and who has retired. And he spends his time now at a lovely house on the beach somewhere in Florida with his young family raising turtles. And
wearing really, really slutty shorts.
yeah, yeah, and he's all nice and tan, and he's living the high life, and he's got this awesome 5 o'clock shadow going on, and then he sees the last thing he wanted to see in the world, probably, which is Dennis Farina in a full suit on the beach, bearing down on him.
It's going to be a good fucking weekend, dude. Dennis Farina turns up and he's like, hey, I'm going to tell you some cop stories from when I was a literal detective for fucking 18 years, and then I'm going to be an actor. What a guy. What a dude. Imagine
Awesome.
a night out with Dennis Farina, man. Fucking
God,
crazy.
incredible scenes. Yeah, I love Dennis Farina. Perfectly cast. So Dennis Farina is Jack Crawford, his FBI superior, who worked with him on the previous cases. And he's here to do the whole, we've got you for one last job. We need to get you one more job. That classic scene. And it starts just straight into it. So it's great. So Will Graham they're sitting on a log looking out at the sea, and Jack Crawford explains to him that there's been 2 families that have been brutally murdered in different cities around America, but the MO is the same, and this guy is on a lunar cycle, so they've got about a month until the guy's expected to hit again. Will Graham is needed. He's the best FBI profiler in the game, but it's implied very much that the last case that Will Graham was on kind of broke him, and it is true. So the last case he had was capturing a man called Hannibal Lecter. I don't know why, but in the credits for this movie, they spell it with a K in T-U-R, like Lector, which is weird.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, this case, because he gets so deeply into the minds of his quarry, he comes a little bit crazy himself. And at the end of the Lecter case, he was not only physically assaulted, spent some time in the hospital, he also had some PTSD going off the back of that, and he's been in therapy and stuff since, and trying to get his life back on track. And then here comes Dennis Farina, gonna drag you back in and get yourself into the mind of yet another crazy guy, because you're the only guy who can do it. He kind of plays like a guilt card, hands him these photographs of the families.
Yeah.
And Grimm's like, gotta do it, because I've got a young family, and this is a young family.
He's like, here's some shock images. It's like, welcome to browsing r/combat footage in the year 2026, basically. It's like, check me out. I'm your offline version of liveleak.com.
Indeed. Will Graham goes to speak to his wife, Kim Greist, or Greist is the actress.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen her in much stuff. She's the only things I'd seen her in, apart from this, is the movie Brazil, which came out the year before, where she plays in that opposite Jonathan Pryce, and also one episode of Miami Vice. We'll talk about that one episode of Miami Vice later. But yeah, so he goes to speak to her. She's obviously quite wary about this whole thing. Like, all right, isn't this exactly what fucked you up last time, kind of thing? And then off he goes to the most recent crime scene, which is in Atlanta. And then you kind of start to see his initial process. So the next scene, I guess, is where he's in the car with one of the other cops, and they pull up to the house, and he's like, "Do you want me to go in with you?" And he's like, "No." And he hands him the envelope of pictures and notes and stuff from when the scene was initially found, and he just sets himself up in there, and he's walking around the place, and you see him. You have this really long sequence where he's putting it all together.
Yeah, he's kind of narrating it to himself, kind of thing.
Yeah. So
obviously, I watched this with my wife Emma, who got me into the Hannibal TV show. And I don't know if you guys have seen Hannibal, but there's the kind of show Will Graham's ability to kind of recreate scenes in his head by he walks into a room and then the screen kind of crossfades over how it happened at the time, and he sees all the dead bodies and stuff, and he sees the killer doing it, and it's incredibly lurid and graphic, and it's really fucking cool. And I'm pretty sure I heard her quietly say, "This is my design," as he was looking at stuff, because that's his big kind of tagline from the show when he starts tripping balls and saying stuff. It's really good how it's handled in both that show and this film. It's handled in very different ways, I think. And again, it's just this very kind of slow-paced methodical work by him that seems a cross between insight and insanity. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the film doesn't do a lot of storytelling into how he kind of has this massive insight into the minds, but it already feels like it's a burden on him. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think because of the narrative economy of it, it doesn't really seem considering lots of different versions of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he doesn't brainstorm possible reasons for like why the tooth theory, which is what everyone's calling the murderer, is staged the scenes the way he has. He's just immediately like hones in on what it turns out to be completely the right answer. He's like he just like immediately gets it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but it also shows that that Will Graham, maybe it's showing that Will Graham's got this incredible insight, or maybe it's showing that Will Graham is also a little bit like touched as well. It's almost like you've got to be a bit of a killer to catch the killer kind of thing. You look around the scene. The key bit of information that he gleans from this scene is that by spotting some traces of talcum powder near the bodies and noticing there's no other talcum powder in the house, he realizes the talcum powder has come from inside the gloves that he was wearing, which means he's taken his gloves off while he's at the scene, and he believes that's so he can hold people's eyes open so the dead bodies can watch what he's doing.
Yeah.
Which gives him the breakthrough of like, dust the eyes for fingerprints.
Yeah.
And then they get a fingerprint from the eye.
And this sorry to talk over that. This moment in the film is one of its deviations from like the kind of like pacing and tropes of a detective thriller or a serial killer film. Because when you think about it, this is the kind of break in the case that will come much later in other sort of films. This is like third act. Right, this is like a third act break in the case kind of thing, when it's like, oh my god, the call is coming from inside the house kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, they have a third act break in the case as well.
Yeah, they do, but
you're
it's
right.
Surprising, with the pacing.
This level of it, because it shows that the resources that they're bringing to bear on this on this case are like at the maximum from the very beginning. Because I guess William Graham stepped into it, two entire family murders into it already, so he's been brought in kind of late in the game as kind of like their ringer, and he is delivering straight away, I guess. But yeah, you're right. If this had been like a more standard kind of police procedural movie, if this had been the first like scene, they wouldn't have found anything necessarily of any great import, or they would have found like a red herring that leads them down like a rabbit hole.
And then they go and bust some random other guy, and then it's like, no, it's not me. I've just got a totally different interest in breaking into people's houses, you know?
Yeah, something nuts like that. And then this insight, this kind of like immediate psychological insight into the guy, and it being right, and them finding a result and getting that evidence. Yeah, you're right. That would have happened a bit later in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. So yeah, this happens pretty early on. You see like the forensic teams kick into action. I think what it does do is it sets out its stall pretty early of like, this is a movie that's going to take the forensic evidence stuff really seriously. You're going to see it with a type of rigor that you don't normally see in a Hollywood movie. You know, you're going to see them talking about things like handwriting analysis and like fingerprinting techniques and blood splatter, like
the
kind of analysis and that kind of stuff.
The microscopy they used to see what was written in ballpoint under the redacted part of the toilet paper that was redacted in felt tip is like, that's great. It's so granular. I've seen this film referred to in more than one review as being or having aspects of competency porn, and I agree with that.
It's probably not a coincidence that the ultimate criminal competency porn TV show CSI would then have like Will Petersen, who plays Graham in this, as its kind of like figurehead.
Very fair point. One that I didn't even consider. But
would you say that counts as an ops room?
Yes, I would.
It's like there's a bazillion screens in there where we're not sure whether they have any actual purpose apart from making it look more technical and interesting. Which is usually what ops rooms tend to do in thrillers as well.
Is this our first... This is our first ops room of 2026?
It is our first ops room of 2026.
Mark it down, ops room counter, running at 1.
It's not my favourite ops room. My favourite ops room is still the Unstoppable ops room.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Cool. Right, so we now meet a very young Stephen Lang as hack reporter from the left-wing media.
goddamn liberals coming out
No,
here.
I'm joking because
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
recent events.
So am I.
No, but we see
Yeah.
Stephen Lang, a really young Stephen Lang, avatars Stephen Lang as Freddie Lowndes, the tabloid reporter who's trying to goad Will Graham into a story and a quote. And he gets power bombed onto the bonnet of a car, smashing its windscreen.
Such a good scene, and it's really funny because obviously Freddie Lowndes appears. Emma's like, "Oh my god, it's Freddie Lowndes." Beat. He gets power bombed into a car. Beat. Emma. Not as sexy as in the TV show though.
Oh, it's harsh. Who played in the TV show? I didn't realize they were all in there. I've never watched Hannibal, and I probably should do.
So cool, dude. Like I said, I mean, I keep banging the drum, but like season 3 has so many Giallo elements. It's just fucking unreal. So
it's a woman.
So, yeah. It's a gender swapped role. It's Laura Jean Chorostecki.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have a quick look on this, and there was that Dr. Bloom was gender bent as well.
Yeah.
In the TV show.
Yeah, so good, man. So good.
Cool. Yeah. So Lang, right, is great. Lang is incredibly good at playing like really hateable characters.
He really is.
Do you remember him in? He's almost unrecognizable as Ike Clanton in Tombstone.
Yeah.
Man, I've never wanted a character to get like shot in the head more than Ike Clanton in Tombstone. What a fucking weasel he is for that whole movie.
Scumbag, absolute dirtbag, absolute piece.
Yeah. And it's no different here. I feel a bit bad about it eventually, but yeah, God, he's so irritating in this, and that's a compliment to Stephen Lang for how we. Also, something else I find really irritating about him is he has and this is probably just fashion at the time because it's the mid-80s, but he has these fucking ties, these like really thin ties that have got like a flat cut at the bottom of them, and he looks like fucking one of the bullies from like Back to the Future Part 2.
Hey, McFly, I'm going to run a hit piece on you, McFly. I'm going to blog about this so hard, McFly. He really fucking does. I fucking hate a stupid little number plate on his car. Did you catch that? It's like, got you. So his number plate, got you. It's like, yeah, fucking Golf Oscar Tango Charlie Hotel uniform. Oh, got me. Because you're a crusading reporter. You melt.
Brilliant.
Jeez.
So immediately after this, he goes to Graham goes to see Hannibal Lecter. Time out, nerd moment here. So the location of the psychiatric hospital stroke prison that Lecter is in is the Atlanta Museum of High Art.
So fucking cool.
External and internal stuff filmed there. And to anyone who are fans of the medical drama The Resident, which is set in Atlanta, that is the same location that is used for Chastain Hospital. External and internal as well. So that big sort of long spiral circle staircase that he's running down, or rampway that he's running down when he flees out of Lecter's cell and kind of has a wobbler and runs through the building and gets outside. Like all of that is that big atrium there is inside the art gallery as well, or museum. And then I think one of the main characters from The Resident gets like fatally stabbed in that same area. Wild. Anyway, spoilers for The Resident.
Spoilers for everything. It's unreal, man. We're out here straight.
The interior of that hospital, by the way, was that scene where he's running out of there. That felt weird as fuck.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, right.
That was so weird, like because it generally made you feel like he was trying to escape from a never-ending labyrinth.
Which he is, of the mind.
And at some point, I was wondering whether they were really going to make this poor man run down the entire thing and make us watch it as well. It's like, okay, we've got the point now. There's a lot of stairs.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I tell you, we'll do it in backwards order because we might as well hit it. So he's run out of the office, and then you have that bit where he's like on that ramped walkway, still the same location, and he's leaning over, and we get that one shot of just the grass, which is like been chromatically separated. So you see like the red, blue, and green on the light of the dew being split across to show that his vision has gone blurry because he is so worked up. And then it cuts back to him, and he's calmed down, and it cuts back to the grass, and we just see the dew on the grass. How weird is that?
So nuts! It's crazy.
Yeah, very strange.
The film's just like strange use of like surrealistic kind of like color schemes and like stuff like that, and like color grading. It's like one of the ticks in there. Is it a giallo or isn't it kind of box?
it definitely uses color to as like
Yeah.
a 1-to-1 for different like mental states of different
Yeah.
characters throughout it. I did see,
Yeah.
I did do a little bit of research. So Dante Spinotti is the DP on this, who worked with Mann a bunch of times. He did Heat previously. He's done a whole bunch of different stuff, including weirdly Ant-Man and the Wasp. But we'll skip that. Weird AF.
I actually did some research on it myself the other night as well. I was like looking, so obviously Italian filmmaker started Italian DP started mainly working in Italy, and he doesn't appear to have done like giallo films. He's done a few kind of weird films that don't sound like they're in like the giallo genre. Yet he seems to have a deft hand for this kind of thing. If you like, later on, once we're in categories, I can talk about some interesting things I found about some of his work in Italian cinema, which I think is pretty funny and pretty interesting.
I look forward to that. So, Spinotti has said himself in interviews and stuff that he used different colors to have different emotional states. So whenever the screen is completely like drenched in the blue, it's meant to indicate like a safe space. So you have that in like Graham's house next to the sea at the beginning. And you have it when they're doing some of the forensic work in the police stations. And there's like nice blue tones there. You kind of get like a mixture of purples and greens for when things are getting off kilter, which is like shown to its maximum when we get to the climax. And you look at like Dollarhide's house, which is like bathed in like purple and green, and every other color seems to be like saturated out. Yeah. Really strange and looks so weird. And when you talk about the film being weird, it's that color scheme that makes it really weird for me. And also the changes in like frame rate and stuff that happen. Yeah. There's a few of those that are really strange that put you off kilter.
That subtle little bit of slow motion just before Graham jumps through the window.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. There's that. There's Dollarhide emerging through his weird giant poster. Anyway, we're having now our first meeting between Graham and Hannibal Lecter. Brian Cox is playing him here. This is the first actor to play it. He hasn't got a lot of time in the movie, and Michael Mann himself said he wanted people to feel like they didn't get enough Hannibal Lecter when they watch this movie, which I get, because you want to leave people wanting more. But it works because I have so many questions about Hannibal Lecter after watching this film. Like, what was he doing there?
Yeah, he was told like base his character on like a kind of British private schoolboy, wasn't he? Like, yeah, he was told like base his performance on like a private schoolboy, and it's like, my son's going to private school. I'll base Hannibal fucking Lecter on him. Dad of the year, dad of the year, man. Honestly, what a guy. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to say. I mean, what's a Brit doing working in America? I guess making better money than the NHS would pay him.
Yeah.
With better access to weapons to killers.
Yeah. What I like about this film is it doesn't go into any detail whatsoever about the nature of Lecter's crimes. Just how there's a little bit about how he was caught, and Graham is a kind of like rubbing his belly a little bit here. He's kind of feeding his ego a little bit. Yeah. So there's the whole back and forth of like, Will Graham, you get the feeling that he's holding his own for a little bit, and then he gets kind of chiseled away, and he definitely loses that confrontation. It's his first step back into this grimy underworld since he kind of tried to get himself away from it, and it's just too much. He stood too close to the bonfire and is getting himself a bit burned. And as soon as he shows that bit of weakness, like, Lecter's on him straight away. Like, you came back here to get the scent. You came back here to get a smell of it, to get your head back in the game. Says it worked. Did you get my smell? Smell yourself. Oh man,
brilliant. Brian Cox has some opinions as well. I like to research his films, but I may have done a bit more research on this film than previous ones because I locked in a little bit on this bad boy. Brian Cox has some opinions on Anthony Hopkins' performance as Lecter, by the way. That it's probably a good time to mention it. So I found a quote. So on IMDb, someone wrote that in a 2025 interview, Brian Cox reflected on his performance as Hannibal. Quote, I think I'm the best Hannibal Lecter there ever was. Beat. Because I play it internally, I don't do any funny Chianti shit. I don't do any of that. End quote. Cox quipped, referring to the famous Silence of the Lambs scene in which Hopkins Lecter recalls eating a victim's liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti before making a dramatic slurping noise. Cox continued, quote, I play the guys I think he really is. God bless Hopkins, he did it very well. He got a lot of money out of it, and he also got an Oscar for Best Actor. What can you argue about that? But at the same time, to me, Hannibal Lecter is a much more internal guy than he is externally. He's somebody who works from the interior out, not from the exterior in. And I think that's the difference.
That's interesting. I think it's a good point. I think if you look at if you've seen the movie Hannibal from
Years ago.
2003, and it's just a bit
Yeah.
like it's just a bit over the top, and it's just a bit like becomes a little bit silly. Whereas I think I do understand like where Brian Cox is coming from, and I haven't seen the TV show Hannibal, but how does Mads Mikkelsen do it?
Him and Will Graham are super fucking gay for each other in it. It's wild. The one have sex with each other so much it's embarrassing for both of them. I think he's really good Hannibal. He seems to have a bit more of like the kind like he's not as flamboyant as Hopkins when he's being more like kind of like intellectual and like incisive, I guess, and analytical. But he does have the kind of flamboyant thing when he's holding these like ridiculous cannibal dinner parties and stuff like that. It's a really interesting performance. Does seem to kind of take a little bit. Well, no, I'm not going to diss Mads Mikkelsen by saying he's taken from other actors' performances because he might come in my house and kill us. But he seems to kind of show both sides of like the kind of Lecter spectrum, I guess, the Lectrum, if you will, because he's got like that increased sense of menace that Brian Cox has, plus like a bit more of like the intellectual flamboyance and stuff that Anthony Hopkins provides. Plus, also you see him like physically stab people and kill people quite a bit. So he's like a physical Lecter as well. Like he's a Lecter who can beat the brakes off you. It's all in all a good show.
Cool. No, I need to check. That's a big like cultural blind spot for me, so I haven't watched any of that.
Gillian Anderson's in it. It's like it's like
I need to watch it.
It's like a goated performance by Gillian Anderson, honestly.
Yeah, I need to get into that big time.
100%.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's interesting. I like Brian Cox a lot as an actor.
Yeah.
He's in many great things, not up to and including Sharp. But
Yeah.
but you do get the sense from this Lecter, from what we see of him, which is only a small amount, that you can see him operating in the real world. He's very charming. He tricks people. He's very easy to manipulate people on the phone. And the way he wriggles around Will Graham's head is masterful. There's something kind of playful and weird about him as well, like the way he lies on his little prison bed with his little feet up and his feet in those big thick socks. Just like there's something kind of funny about that. Whereas, there's something a bit like Panto is probably putting it a bit harshly, but like the something about Anthony Hopkins is Lecter, and we'll do the Silence of the Lambs at some point, I'm sure, and we can talk about it in more detail. But I feel like I can't see his Hannibal Lecter like going to the shops and getting his groceries in. I can't see him taking a patient as a psychiatrist. I can't see him like going to the DMV and getting his license. Like it just doesn't seem like of this earth, An
interesting thing to consider is honed in on the fact that Brian Cox said he kind of based his performance on his son, who was like a private schoolboy. Brian Cox's Lecter is like a really precocious, far too clever for his own good and absolutely insane student. Whereas Anthony Hopkins' Lecter is like a far too clever for his own good and insane private school drama teacher.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I thought of Mr. G from Summer Heights High there.
No, I'm afraid that's a cultural blind spot for me.
But where you been, bitch? Where you bloody been?
Watching Bosch last night is where I've been, mate. I watched Bosch last night because I had to get Bosch filled off you, dude. Obviously, a throwback to the last episode when Mike had a Bosch mentioned counter. So I watched like 6 episodes of the first season of Bosch last night, man. I locked in.
Yes. All right, okay. Maybe we'll do a Bosch bonus at some point.
A Bosch episode, if you will.
That's great news, mate. I'm so happy for you. You're going to really enjoy that. How good is J. Edgar? Don't answer me now. He's great, though. Fantastic. Right. Okay. So where are we at now? Lecter agrees to look at the case file, and Lecter immediately obtains Graham's home address through deceit. Meanwhile, because they've got hits on the fingerprinting stuff, Graham goes to the crime scene in Birmingham, Alabama, which is when we get the flight across, which is an interesting scene we should talk about, because they didn't have a set for a plane to film this, so they filmed on a real flight. But it's proper guerrilla, like gonzo filmmaking, because they didn't tell anyone they were going to do it, obviously. What they didn't just said is they bought like 100 seats on the plane for like the cast and crew and just took over the cab doing it much to the chagrin of the pilot, the stewards and
It's
stewardesses,
amazing.
flight attendants. They did the filming, which they brought all their kit on board, like in their hand luggage. Fucking mental. You can tell this is like pre 9/11.
I was going to say, fucking hell, you cannot do that today. This truly is one of those films. I mean, it's like legally you could not make aspects of this film today.
Yeah. And to mollify the aircrew, and other nearby passengers who obviously like were sitting next to it as it was happening and stuff. They just give a bunch of like Manhunter like crew jackets away to people, which is fantastic. Just like, so they obviously planned, we'll just bring a load of swag on and we'll just bribe everyone with swag.
I just imagine, like, the film comes out like what, like probably 6-7 months later or something.
Oh, 6, 7.
And
I'm so
I'm fucking
sorry.
understand either, mate, but I wanted.
When I was young, 69 used to be the funny number.
I thought I would have pulled something out to make Sanya angry, but yeah, like however many months later after the film's wrapped and gone through post, you know, half this aircrew were in the cinemas going, I know what fucking happens now, watch this. And like they're sitting there in like the Manhunter crew jackets, like, yeah, this thing's never leaving my side.
And then they walk out the cinema and like half the people are on there going, what the fuck was that? That was,
Yeah.
that sucked.
Yeah, a full third of the people who watch the film walk off with Inagata Davida stuck in the head for the rest of their lives.
God, yeah. Nuts. Absolutely ridiculous. So Graham goes to this house. One of the things he was talking about with Lecter was that all the houses they've been looking at have had really large back gardens, and because there's a lunar cycle element to it, he thinks that probably he wants to stand outside and look at the moon as he's doing his crimes.
Yeah.
And is possibly in the nude, so he wants a bit of privacy, which is why he thinks there's large gardens. So Wilgrim goes to this house and sees that, yeah, it has got a massive garden. He walks back from the house, like down a hill, and like looks at the sight lines, and when he runs out with like the sight line from like the house and stuff, and then he looks around and he finds a tree and he climbs up a tree, and he sits in a tree looking at the house and kind of pieces together like what the killer must have done.
Yeah.
And it's another bit of like Will Graham like narrating to himself. And you get this like really bit. I think William Petersen's really good in this film, but the only bits where I don't like it is when he has these moments of like these eureka moments when he's on his own and he has to say what he's thinking out loud, and he's like, "That's it, you son of a bitch. This is you stayed here all day, you watched them all day, that's why they're large yards, you son of a bitch." And it's just like, who are you yelling at, man?
This scene is somewhat ruined for me, not ruined but tarnished, I guess, by a South Park episode in which Cartman has been some kind of a detective, and he's like, "This is a tree where the killer stayed up all night, probably cutting himself with a large knife." That was a terrible Cartman impression. I'm so sorry. I mean, that sounded more like a certain fucking current president and leader of the free world impression, which is even worse. It was middle of those, but yeah. Obviously, the other thing that's ruined by South Park is the whole "Do you see? Do you see?
Yeah.
Do you see?" Because I've just Cartman going, "Oh my god, I'm so fucking bored." It's like, oh, cartoons rotted my brain, man.
Indeed. Crawford rings him to tell him that Lecter's warden at the prison has found a note in his personal effects, which they think is from the killer, written on toilet paper. So then they go and read the note and kind of hatch a plan. So what it is they realise that the killer, who they don't know the identity of yet, the Tooth Fairy, is expressing all this admiration for Lecter, and then they hatch a plan, having read the notes, to write their own fake response to him and publish it in... They figure out it's the National Tatler, which is the newspaper that Lowndes writes for, Freddie Lowndes. So they plan to write to try and get him to go to a certain place at a time so they can like basically do a sting attack on him. Right, yeah, right. This is a weird thing. Lecter is writing these notes to the Tooth Fairy,
Yeah.
but he's writing them in a code. The FBI haven't cracked the code yet, but they've got a decision to make about whether they put in their own fake one without the coded elements in, or they let Lecter write his own one, but then no progress is made because Lecter's just writing to his guys as he wants to. They decide to run their one anyway, in the hope that maybe the code hasn't been recognised by... it's all a bit nuts, this.
It's crazy, yeah. It's like because it shows like the kind of like intelligence and misdirectional powers of Lecter, how the code is essentially, so like, you're meant to think that like the cipher for it is like the Bible, right? Because it's like Bible verses.
Yeah.
But then they come to this realization, it's not clear how, this realization that because the Bible verses don't match, like there's only this certain amount of verses in this book, and it's exceeding the number. Then they're like, oh, so this is actually just like references to random criminal codes and like laws and stuff of like the area, like the like county criminal codes, which somehow translates into letters. And I like how the film doesn't dive too deep into that, because again, it's Michael Mann's kind of storytelling. When we don't need to know. We don't need to have a scene when like someone like spends ages looking at a Bible and then looking at a big book of criminal statutes and going, son of a bitch, you know. It's again, it's the thing that, much like in Collateral, Michael Mann's able to cut these things out of his films. They're unnecessary, and he still has this vibrant, exciting, rapidly developing storyline without having the scene when a bunch of cryptographers lock in and sit around with the Bibles and the criminal code books and
they're like,
probably
it's state statutes. It's Missouri state statutes.
Yeah, and they've got like the Bibles in front of them. They've got like the state statutes. They've got some third red herring book, like, I don't know, the Player's Guide to Animal Crossing or something in front. Like, it can't be this one. This has no relevance to the plot, but we're going to waste 5 minutes on it because this isn't a Michael Mann film, you know?
Yeah, so... because it serves no additional purpose. I think we get the gist of it pretty much as soon as it starts. So what they do is they get Freddie Lowndes, who we've already seen as a fucking scumbag, but they sit down with him, and Will Grimm offers him the opportunity to like, right, we're going to catch this killer you're going to do a profile on me, which, considering he's already written some tabloid hit pieces on him already, he's like, brilliant, great, I'll do that. And then they're going to start talking about the case in this profile, and he starts just like saying like, right, the tooth fairy's impotent. Yeah. He can't achieve an erection around a woman. Maybe he was maybe he had fantasizes about his mother, like all this sort of stuff. So
it's rage bait, isn't it? I mean, like,
it's absolute rage bait, yeah.
Like this guy wants to have sex with his mom, and he's also gay. It is incredibly middle school. Really, it's like, hey man, you know, homo says what? You know, like it's just, he falls for this like rage bait.
It's proper juvenile.
But like not in the way you expect it, because obviously they think they're going to rage bait him into making a move on Will Graham, but in fact he sees through it and falls in a more controlled way for the rage bait and absolutely fucks Freddie Lowndes up.
Yeah, Grimm. You get like the sting operation all set up with Graham as the bait. And they do that kind of big fake out. They see a guy running in a hoodie, they tack him to the ground, it's just a guy out for a run. And all the police are like there, and meanwhile Freddie Lowndes is like completely unprotected, walking to his car, and just gets abducted. And you get like so you get like the do you see scene where Freddie Lowndes is sat down, made to watch like all the slideshows of photos of all the families that he's brutal. Freddie Lowndes is crying and screaming to run up, having a bad time, and I love that you don't see what he does to Freddie. All we see is him returned to the parking lot, and you've got the guy in the little booth, the little tour booth, and you see this brilliant shot of like the bend of the ramp that goes up and around the corner, and you see like the fire like rounding the corner. You just see the light coming, and he's like looking at that, and he's like, what is this? And the guy gets out the tour booth and starts like backing away, and then runs away, and then you get this one really short shot of like the wheelchair with like the burning Freddie Lowndes like piling down the ramp right at the camera, and it's like, what is this? This is sick.
It's a proper jump scare, and it's and honestly, 11 out of 10, no notes, absolute perfection. That scene when there's just this kind of like gradual building up of like, again, this film plays with light and stuff so much, and it's this building up of like the kind of light from the burning body that's inside the wheelchair. And I just think, obviously, looking at it with contextual knowledge and having like seen the film before and seeing there's like a similar film, I mean, it's not going to be a spoiler to say there's a similar scene in the Hannibal TV series, but it's like, imagine seeing that in the cinema for the first time with no kind of preparation. I don't know if that scene's in the book Red Dragon, because I've not read it yet. I really should. Shout out to Stephen from Cramlington, if you're listening, after recommending on social media that the book's even better than the film. So I need to check that out. Thanks, man. Got to shout out the listeners.
I'll tell you what I really enjoyed after the sequence, and also hello to Stephen, is the absolute lack of emotion that Will Grimm has about the death of Freddie Lowndes.
Yes.
Like he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. He's like, did he like he's talking to like the is like the EMT or the doctor or something. He's like, did he say anything else before he did he? He's like, you never regained consciousness. Oh, okay, right. That's a bust.
Yeah.
Well, he's dead anyway. Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
He really doesn't care. It's fantastic.
And then Jack Crawford's like, we cracked the code. It was like Missouri State statutes or something like that. And we found out what the coded message was to the Tooth Fairy. It's your home address.
Yeah.
So he's like, fuck. And then he books it back to his home. And we get like the police swarming the residence. It's all fine. Like, they get evacuated out. It's all good, no drama. I do feel bad for the one guy. There's a shit ton of lat guys in this movie, but there's also a shit ton of people who we've never seen anything else and don't have photographs on IMDb, who this is their only acting credit kind of thing. And there's one guy who plays the cop with a shotgun who comes to the door, who's clearly been given the one line to say, please come back inside. But he has to say it like 3 times because like Kim Grease keeps trying to get out the door, and he's like, come back inside. No, come back inside. No, please come back inside. It's like, you're not giving this guy anything else to say. He's not gonna get in on the improv with you. Like, yes, and I'm trying to get outside.
No, what?
No, but go back inside.
I'm imagining like both of them on like a poorly lit stage now, and someone's like, I heard nightclub in San Diego, and everyone's Catholic saint. No, but.
Yeah, St. Christopher, these beats are really banging. Like, what?
St. Jude, thank you so much. It goeth hard. Good grief.
We get a really nice scene after this. So it cuts to them going to a safe house, and Will Grimm goes out shopping with his son. And this is like, he only has like a handful of scenes in the movie. The son is shown to have quite a high EQ. Like, he's out of his sight of his mum and dad. He goes, I'm just in the kitchen. Like, he knows like people are going to be worried about him. He's obviously like, it kind of implies that this kid has had to like, this isn't his first rodeo with people being worried about him.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes grocery shopping with his dad, and his dad, I think this is probably Will Petersen's maybe kind of best scene in the movie, is him explaining like what happened to him after the last case and the nature of his PTSD to his like really young son. But he's like talking to him at his level kind of thing. Doesn't talk down to him. He kind of just says like quite matter of factly like, yeah, and after my body got better, my mind wasn't all better, so I had to go and speak to somebody else, and I had to ask them for help, and because I got really because I had to understand like why these people did these horrible things,
Yeah.
He kind of lays out flat for us like what the movie's about, which is his struggle with going into the minds of these killers. But that was a really nice scene. I thought it was really well done.
I love like the mundane setting of a supermarket as well.
He got like all the cereal behind him and all the coffee behind his son. Yeah,
it's
the breakfast aisle.
Lesser directors, lesser men, pussies would have shot this film on a bench next to a lake or something. Not on the scene, on a bench next to a lake. And, come on, son, let's feed the ducks, and I'll talk about my PTSD. But it's like it's just this off-kilter, weird kind of scene.
Because
it works so well.
You don't know when these moments are going to happen in real life. Kids don't have the whilst he has like the EQ to take all this information in, he doesn't have like the tact to go, well, let's wait until we're out of public before we talk about this.
Yeah.
I'll ask you about it right in the middle of the fucking Whole Foods.
Yeah.
And it's more realistic that way, I think.
Yeah.
You don't know when these deep, meaningful chats are going to happen.
Yeah. It's like a fucking family story. When my mum was a kid, she went to see some musical, I think it was Oklahoma, at the cinema with her mum and like her sister. Obviously, I think it's Oklahoma. There's like a line in the song where it's like, there'll be kissing, there'll be drinking, there'll be fornicating. Either my mum or her sister, whose name I won't say yet because I'm not doxing my entire family, but said to their mum, my grandma, quite loud, "Mum, what's fornicating?" in the middle of the cinema. It's like, so yeah, kids in general, from what I've seen and heard and experienced as a kid as well, don't have that kind of like awareness of right place, right time sometimes. So it's really a really bit of honest storytelling and filmmaking that this conversation has to happen in a supermarket in front of the breakfast cereals. It's good.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of that bit in When Harry Met Sally, where where they have like a deep, meaningful chat when Harry and Sally bump into Harry's now ex-wife and his new partner while they're like in a gift shop and they're doing the karaoke to Oklahoma's.
Yeah.
Chicks and ducks and geese better scurry. And then you have just out in public they have like that singing Oklahoma for the Ira. Yeah.
We're getting
Yeah.
dangerously close to becoming a musical theatre episode.
No big deal. No drama with that. I don't mind that.
Manhunter the musical, imagine that. We're on lockdown, we'll work out how Manhunter the musical would play out. No, we're not.
Anyway, this is the midpoint of the movie where we do the switch from police procedural following the evidence to now we're with the Tooth Fairy. So the Rubicon is passed when we finally meet Francis Dollarhide as he's kind of torturing Lowndes, right? That's the first time we meet him.
Yeah.
And the first time we see him, he's got like that pantyhose over his head, over his eyes, over the top of his head. It's creepy AF.
Yeah. Again, this was like the whole like Giallo thing of like a masked killer kind of thing. Like it's there but quite not, like it's not quite following the full Giallo playbook, much as it doesn't follow fully the thriller / serial killer detective movie playbook. Brilliant.
Really menacing, really weird, really offsetting. Little touches that make it off-putting. Things like the collar on his shirt is like folded up.
Yeah.
Weirdly, like he's taken all this care to like stage this kidnap and the torture and the slideshow, but the guy's so unhinged he doesn't know how to put his shirt on properly. The rest of the movie kind of drip feeds details to us, but our first impressions of us, we've got this guy who's like got the surgery scar on his palate because he's obviously had a cleft palate as a child. It's been surgically fixed. Extremely tall, big guy. They tell us later in the movie he's 34, but he's got this kind of wiry, scruggly, balding head of hair, which doesn't look like he's taken a lot of care with it. He's got this weird apartment that he lives in. It's just like, the whole thing is just like, who is this guy? But then the movie answers it for us by putting us in his shoes for like the next sort of 30, 40 minutes. And
it kind of speed runs us through like his kind of falling in love with that lady whose name I've just forgotten. I'm so sorry.
Reba McClane, played by Joan Allen.
Yeah. Like it kind of like speed runs us through their like romance and how he like takes her to see that tiger that's been like sedated and stuff like that. And
that's a wild first date.
That's a wild first date, and it's obviously it's unsurprising because it's Michael Mann, a real tiger, with a real vet as well. That's like an actual real vet standing by it, and it's like, Michael Mann, you didn't have to go for this realism, and yet you did.
That's cool though, because
it's incredibly cool.
It shows that like this guy has got like he's interesting.
Yeah,
that's not your standard like go for a drink, go for a coffee, have a safe date. No, he's like I know a guy who will drug a tiger for us.
Yeah,
like what the who is this vet?
I just happen to have a friend who's not just a vet. He's not just like a regular domestic animals vet, right? He's a guy who's a vet for a zoo who just happens to have a tiger he needs to sedate like right now or very, very soon for a procedure. It's like, the thing is, it's like so many serial killers are portrayed as like these like sad losers, and he is a sad loser in his own right.
Yeah.
But he also has the potential to be a cool dude. He's got a fucking really cool house,
Yeah.
He's obviously able to build up like working relationships with people with insanely cool jobs. Like I do work on tigers for a zoo. That's fucking awesome. That's like the apex what vets want to do, right? And yet, I guess, like the film infers that he's schizophrenic with much of the plot, I guess. And also, I guess it's the fact that once again, this is what zero pussy does to a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
there's something it's frustrating because there's something like quite empathetic about him doing that, because like he's obviously, this woman is blind.
Yeah.
She experiences the world through touch. You're never gonna see a tiger, but you could run your hands through the fur of a tiger.
Exactly.
And see it with your hands. That's incredible. Like what a gift that is, like in theory.
And this is a guy who fucking annihilates women. He annihilates them. He eradicates them. I mean, families are kind of like, the families have to die, but the women, it's his main thing. This is a guy who's a destroyer of women, yet for a first date, he takes a woman who will never be able to touch a tiger without dying to see one of God's most amazing murder machines with her hands. It is a complex performance and a complex characterization. I've got to read the book, man.
Yeah, I'd like to know a lot more about Reba as well, like
Yeah.
what's going through her mind, because she's obviously drawn to this as well.
Yeah.
So you get the impression that maybe her background isn't straightforward either. This is so distracting as well when you're watching the film. This relationship that's building up is so distracting that, I mean, you notice it, but I didn't pay a lot of thought to it. It was like how they're going to catch him. Is that he works in the film processing labs
Yeah.
that have processed all the home footage for all the murders.
Yeah.
So that's how it's a bit like 1 Hour Photo. This is how he's picking his victims. He's developing their film. It's seeing their lives. And it's something that Graham obviously realizes later on. It's like the big kind of eureka moment. But yeah, mad. So he has that one nice date with Reba, drops her off, have a nice normal time. Reba then, so as I understand it, in the book, what she's doing is breaking off like an off again, on again thing with another guy.
Yeah.
And the guy asks her out of earshot from Dolarhyde for like one final kiss, and she kisses him like one last time on the doorstep kind of thing, and then he leaves. In the movie, that's not put in there. I think it would have been confusing
Yeah.
to have that much backstory for such a short interaction. But in the movie, it's just like a colleague who's just saying bye, and he notices something on her cheek, so he brushes a hand into the cheek, and it looks really intimate. And this is like what sends him over the edge.
Yeah.
And Dolarhyde
he sees it differently. Like he goes kind of full schizo at this point, and he sees it.
He rips the upholstery in his car.
Yeah. Yeah, like he sees it as like a passionate clinch kind of thing when it's not, you know?
Yeah. I love when they're shooting this, the way that they change the way it's shot for the perception from Dolarhyde. So
Yes.
we see it from his perspective. She is like backlit by like the porch light. She has like a bloom around her. They're both in the center of the frame. It's like in slow motion. The soundtrack is jacked right up. It looks like this kind of really intimate moment that's happening. And then it cuts away, cuts back to them. And it's like really a matter of fact, slightly wider shot, slightly off center. The lighting's calmed down. The bloom effect is gone. And it's just like, yeah, it must have just been like a bit of like pollen or something. And then bye, like no emotion whatsoever. And then he just walks up the garden path. But too late. At that point, your man, Dolarhyde, springs up from behind a hedge, shocks the guy recognises them, but he just yanks him into this hedge, bang, bang, 2 in the head with a silenced pistol, and then ditches him in the garden and just walks into the house. Really, like, brutal, fast. Like the ritualistic murder stuff is one thing, but when it's just this shows you, like, when it's just an obstacle, he doesn't care, he just like, obliterates it and moves on without thinking.
Yeah. But it's just, at this point, he just erases them because it seems to me with like the storytelling, he's matter of fact with the way he kills men.
Mm-hmm.
Like him killing men is a business thing. Him killing the guys is how he is what he does while he's kind of making the women that he kills into something different.
The children as well.
Yeah.
Graham says in that initial crime scene when he's dictating to himself, he says like the children and the men would have died within a minute.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes happens, and then the women are killed. What does he do in the intervening time? Yeah.
Yeah. So their kind of obstacles be removed. It's dispassionate the way he kills them. There's no kind of like screaming, fuck you, and like get your hands off my woman, and just like slice and kind of thing. There's no kind of cut his eyes out and replace them with broken mirrors or whatever. He's just erased because it's psychosexual with him. As violence is psychosexual, another tick in the Giallo box, and men aren't part of his sexual alignment.
Yeah, so now we're getting towards the end of it now, I guess. We get so Dolarhyde goes into Reba's home and kidnaps her, I guess, because he takes her back to his place, right? And we're getting towards like the 11th hour now. So I think while this is happening, it cuts back to Crawford and Graham. Graham and Crawford realise all these inferences that he's making are through the same home footage that he is watching right now. So he's like, right, what lab did these come from? And then it's like a central processing lab. What's the outsourced lab? in the local area that initially went to before it got brought into the FBI fold. Underneath that label is where it is. So they figure out that, these have all come from the same lab in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So we're gonna gas up the Learjet and zip over to St. Louis.
Yeah. I got to talk about his use of aircraft in this film as well. When was C? I mentioned this in the last podcast episode. When was C? The scene when they get evidence delivered by helicopter. I love how it's literally kind of touch and go thing. Helicopter lands, someone hands some papers out, and then flies off again. There's no kind of, here comes the cavalry, fucking charge of the Rohirrim kind of thing. When a bit of a exaggerated like reference, obviously, but like there's no kind of like, yeah, here comes, to save the day kind of thing, a big deal. Helicopter lands, bunch of guys come out shaking hands. We got your information, man. Thanks, dog. Kind of thing. Wouldn't say dog, but it's like, it shows the tempo that they're operating at. The helicopter lands, it is literally in the air moments later.
Yeah.
Then when we get the Learjet scene, they're not putting him on a domestic flight again after what happened because he fell asleep and some kids saw evidence.
Yeah.
Again, that
complaints were made.
Complaints were made. He's on a no-fly list now. I mean, again, that scene alone does kind of, just as a kind of aside, slide away a bit from the whole detective movie tropes. That's not something you'd see in a lot of films. I kind of seen when like maybe not then. Anyway, but yeah, when he's on like the Learjet and stuff, and the speed at which that plane taxis towards the hangar, it's like, it shows the intensity of these things. It's not showing we've got you a Learjet because we're cool, because we don't have to like delay a commercial flight from Delta or whatever. It isn't a flex. They've got a Learjet. They need something that's going to get them there really quick, and you just know that the direction for the plane's crew were get this thing moving on the ground to the stop point as quick as possible, because it's not meant to look like a cool badass moment. It's meant to say this is really serious. It isn't like a hooray thing. It's a oh shit kind of thing, it means business.
It's interesting, actually. So what this movie does do, which I think is interesting, is it dispenses with a lot of the federal manhunt kind of tropes that you get in these movies. So, or it modifies them in some way. So, national manhunt in a movie, what do you normally get? You normally get building press reaction to what's going on, building up like a further. I'm thinking of things like the TV series Mindhunter, not Manhunter.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Other things like U.S. Marshals, whatever, the fugitive, that kind of thing. What we do have instead is one tabloid reporter who becomes a plot element and is then one of the victims. So actually, is it really about the national reaction to it, or is it just the stuff you have to put in place for the one victim to get done? You don't have...
Go on, sorry.
I'm going to say other stuff you don't have. Right, so all these guys are working for the FBI, right? So national, the federal. What do you normally get with a federal investigation in a movie? You normally get federal to local law enforcement friction over jurisdiction and egos butting heads. Don't get any of that in this. Everyone just gets along, and there's even a briefing scene with the local cops and the FBI there together, and it just happens, and then they go off and do their jobs, and no one kicks off.
Yeah.
Another thing is, this is more of a visual thing, but normally if you see any of the three-letter agencies in a movie, they are cutting about in those windbreakers or those badged up vests, plate vests and stuff all the time. You don't see any of that. There's nobody wearing an FBI windbreaker in this movie that I can remember. Or seldom is.
This film is very low on the raid jacket count. Definitely is. Another thing, the film at this point, through the manhunt kind of sequence, doesn't throw your red herrings. Oh my God, someone's seen a guy who matches the description in Colorado or whatever, and it's like, turns out it's not him kind of thing. It's like competency porn again. It shows people as being really good at the jobs. Not in the kind of, it doesn't feel like, I know this is a word that's like been kind of like trotted out a lot, but it doesn't feel like propaganda. It doesn't feel like, look at how incredibly amazing and noble our law enforcement are. It just shows how competent they are in a very not morally centered kind of way. It's not showing them as like these crusaders who are just going to get the job done for God, country, and America and apple pie. It just shows them as consummate professionals who don't get in silly kind of like local cops versus three-letter agency shit fights, because it's a worn-out trope, and it's something, again, Michael Mann dodges in this film.
Yeah. In fact, you see him have the opposite in this sequence. So they're in the Learjet. They're making a call to the grounds to the St. Louis police. And Frankie Faison is like the on-duty sheriff or deputy or whatever in charge of another tiny little small ops room.
Yeah.
And they say, like, right, what we need is, I've got a list of names I'm going to give you right now of all the employees of this lab that we use, this film processing lab. So they've also got the information. I'm going to go through all the names. I'm looking for a guy from his profile that he's generated. I'm looking for a guy who's 6 foot to 6'5", something like that, between 180 to 220 pounds, Caucasian, blonde hair. Like this, these are all the things I think they are based on my profile. And then they go through all the employees alphabetically, and then because it's a movie, they get to 1, 2, 3, and the third one happens to be the guy. But you see this ops room kind of thing in the station, I guess, in St. Louis, just doing it, just like, right, here's the guy's ID, we're putting in the name, here's the thing, doesn't match, next, doesn't match, next, does match, I'm faxing you it now, boom. And then you see that. What you don't get in this movie is the trope that would follow immediately after that, which is call out an APB, and then like, we've loaded the airports, we've loaded the ports, we've loaded, and we've got a roadblock set up. Like, none of that happens. It's just like, we've got this guy, what's his address? Let's go to his fucking house.
Yeah, basically, it's like there's no hard target search of every doghouse, hen house, cat house, and outhouse in a 50-mile radius, you know?
Yeah. Because there's not a manhunt yet, because we've got the jump on him finally, and it's happening. But there is the pressure that it's happening tonight, which means they can quite reasonably expect him to be in.
Yeah.
or like the victims, but they don't know who the victim is, so they're going to try and pick him up before he goes out.
Yeah.
So we get that, and it's all coming together, and then we cut back to his apartment. And then I mentioned it earlier on, but this is where we get some of the really weird use of light and colour to show things have gone off the rails. So we have, in direct conversation with the earlier scene where he has Reba, Joan Allen, in his apartment on their date when they have their first kiss and sesh, I guess.
Yeah.
In that scene, his flat is normally colour graded, it's lit in a normal cozy-ish light. He's doing something incredibly rude, by the way, which is he's playing a home movie on a projector that he can see that she can't see, and then he doesn't adequately explain what it is, and then the sound of the video, the tape playing, is like overbearing on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
It strikes me as incredibly off-kilter. Nevertheless, and this is why I want to know more about Reba, because that's happening, and nevertheless, she starts making out with him, and it's like, he could be playing like hardcore pornography on that. You've got no idea what he's watching.
Yeah.
He just says, oh, it's something for work. I'm like, oh, so you're going to sit there and do work with your eyes that I can't use while we're... like, what the fuck? It's so rude.
So weird.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it's enough to make a lesser short man. I mean, like, I'm aware of my 5'7" stature, and I'm fine with that because it's the golden height. But it's enough to make lesser short man who doesn't quite appreciate himself as I do be like, women will do anything for a tall guy. If you're 6'6", they'll do fucking anything. You know. And it's like, that ain't me, babe. But it's like, if it does fit that incredibly incel fucking trope that you're seeing. People are like, oh my God, all you have to be is be yourself, be fit, be rich, be 6'6". Girls will like you. 1, shut up. But 2, yeah, it's like, I think she just comes across as being, she's really captivated by him, and she's willing to let a lot of things go because really sadly for her, she seems to be really, really passionately in love with her.
Yeah. You do see a moment after they first make love, and then they're in bed together afterwards, and he's lying in the bed awake, and he's weeping to himself, and you kind of get the moment there that, God, if I hadn't crossed the Rubicon and murdered 2 families a couple of months ago, and if I'd met this woman 3 months ago, there might have been a future, and I might have been able to suppress my urges, and I might have been able to live a life with her. But I've fucked it for myself, and now I know what I have to do. I have to kill her next, and because this is all part of my becoming, and this is one of the many trials I would face before I became the Red Dragon, or whatever fucking mental shit he's probably thinking.
Yeah.
You know? So you do see him wrestle with it a little bit. And then we get to so now we're in his house. And now we see it, and it's lit in like secondary colours. It's like this washed out purple and washed out green. in conversation with each other is the lighting, which is, as we described earlier, as Dante Spinotti said, is like part of the colour sequence he had in mind for when things were off kilter, when there was emotional turmoil, when we're getting we're touching into like some of the crazy bits of his sort of psyche, and it just makes the place look like something from a music video or something. It looks really odd. It doesn't look like a real flat anymore.
Yeah, and when Inagata Davida kicks in, it just underlines the fact that it really feels like a music video.
Yeah.
Needle drop.
So then she gets really frightened, and he's planning to start doing his kill, I guess, but it's interrupted just in time by the police, and it just turns into an absolute mess. So he whips out a shotgun.
Yeah.
That he's had stashed nearby, and just dispatches to the local law enforcement. Like, I can't believe. So they're on the way there. I've skipped a bit. So we're on the way there. We cut back to Jack Crawford and Will Graham, who are in a car racing to the scene. There's like two police prowlers racing to the scene with them in. And Jack is saying to Will, like, you don't need to load it, like, because he's loading a pistol in the front seat. He's like, you don't need to you don't need to load that. The SWAT team will get him. The SWAT team will take him out. We don't need to. We'll hang back. You don't need to do that. But like, Will's too deep into it now. He has to get involved himself.
Yeah.
And he's the one like loading up his pistol. Like, he's gonna charge in there. So SWAT are meant to be on the way. These guys arrive first, start trying to do, and this is really bad. They kind of botched this, but they know they're against the clock, I guess. So they try to raid the house, and like, all good sense would dictate that they should wait until the SWAT are all lined up there ready. But because life is in grave and imminent danger, they've got to kick in the door, I guess. And that's how those two patrolmen get killed, because they're not wearing adequate body protection. They're not set up to storm the entrance or anything. They just knock on the door and just get fucking shot.
I mean, with the way police equipment looked in like 1986, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The SWAT team likely wouldn't have had much in the way of like protection anyway. Certainly not something that a 12 gauge wouldn't have mashed through.
Yeah, they would have had like a regular plate vest and maybe a helmet or something. They wouldn't have been like fully Kevlar'd up.
Yeah, I mean, at best that have. I mean, I don't even think at that time, and I don't think like even that time, like a lot of SWAT teams were even using like ballistic helmets and stuff like that. So yeah, when you look at like old school photos of like LAPD SWAT and stuff, and they're using like Ruger Mini 14s, and they've just got like a kind of like black like tactical vest with like no armor in it, and it's crazy compared to how you see just like the regular police now with like plate carriers and all this, and it's like, but I guess times change. But yeah, like it's again, this film dodges past this idea that they mention the SWAT team in the film, therefore the SWAT team's gonna go in. It's Chekhov's gun that doesn't really get used. The film, when it promises the idea of the SWAT team coming in to save the day, they don't appear. And once more, dodging past things that films want you to expect to happen.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah.
But this sets up that Will on his own is gonna enter the property.
Yeah.
And try and take him out, and he gets in there. There's a really weird bit where a fridge full of food gets spilt on the floor, like milk and tomatoes and other bits of produce, and they get shot with a shotgun and explodes.
Yes.
Very, very
cinema, absolute cinema.
Just what is that? Yeah. Graham lunges through a window, is subdued by Dollarhide, who retrieves a shotgun, shoots two police officers, injures Crawford. Wounded in the firefight, Dollarhide returns to the kitchen where he's killed by Graham. And then we cut to them being outside with Reba, Graham and Crawford all getting tended to by paramedics. Weirdly, Graham is hugging Reba.
Yeah.
And then Reba asks, "Who are you?" And then he says,
"Don't worry about it."
And then instead of saying like what you would say in reality, which is, "I'm a policeman. I've just rescued you from this guy. I'm with the FBI," kind of thing. He goes, "I'm William Graham." And like, well, who the fuck is William Graham?
the guy with the crackers?
Yeah.
Of the guy with the crackers bars. Holy shit.
Brilliant. Yeah, and obviously he said it for us, so we understand that he's no longer in the mind of Francis Dollarhide, or he's no longer in the mind of Hannibal Lecter, and he's found himself again. I get it. He's cured himself of mental illness. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just comes across as a bit corny.
It does come across as corny, but again, this is the film once again subverting the tropes and stuff, because you expect the feds come to the rescue, shouting, FBI, FBI, it's okay, I'm an FBI agent, or just like, Will Graham, FBI. And he pops out his badge, even though she can't see it. But he does it anyway, because it's like an impulse, it's like an instinct. And yeah, so again, it's another thing that doesn't feel like a typical serial killer cop thriller, you know?
I think if this film had been made 10 years later, I'd be interested to watch The Silence of the Lambs and compare the ending of those films. Bear in mind, there's a lot of FBI in that film. There's a lot of FBI iconography. There's training sequences. There's an award ceremony at the end of it with the FBI. There's a lot of FBI iconography in that film.
Yeah.
There's none of it in this film.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to compare. If this film had been made 10 years later, this crime scene would be crawling. It'd be like blues and twos everywhere. It'd be cordoned off. There'd be like a police helicopter with a spotlight hovering over the property.
Yeah.
Flashing down onto it. There'd be floodlight erected. There'd be a shit ton of like you'd see like the tenting put up by the CSI team. They'd be doing all that.
Yeah, you'd have FBI HRT running up and like multiple fucking MRAPs and stuff.
There'd be people in the background getting interviewed by cops and stuff who are witnesses and that kind of thing, just to show activity in the background. You'd get so much more stuff. You'd see the militarized weight of like the law enforcement descend on the property, wouldn't you? To like clean up this criminal element.
Actually, I've gone anachronistic because if this film was made, like I said, 10 years later, you'd have FBI HRT turning up in like fucking black painted M113 APCs or something like that, wouldn't you? And then if it was made today, they'd turn up in those MRAPs and stuff, those big mine resistant ambush proof vehicles. Probably a fucking director Kash Patel would turn up himself and give people really cringe challenge coins with skulls on them.
Jesus Christ. I watched slight aside here, but we're at the end of the movie now, so I think we can do it. I watched the new Joe Carnahan movie, The Rip, last night, which Joe Carnahan, for fans of the podcast, directed and wrote Smoking Aces, and he wrote and directed this as well, The Rip. It's the new movie with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and that movie has as a major plot point an MRAP vehicle.
Yeah.
Being used for like the latter half of the film. There's a lot of armoured personnel transport stuff going on in that film. Not a good movie, by the way. And I'm looking forward to us talking about it because you will have some serious opinions about weapon handling. There's the DA in it as well as the three-letter agency that's involved, and yeah, just not good. FBI's in it as well. So when we talk about all these tropes, though, like that has got it all. Everyone's in a windbreaker. You know, everyone's got plate protective on. Everyone's got like the three-letter thing on there, and there's one guy who's, I think, is meant to be, oh, Jesus Christ, I think it's meant to be a good guy. He's got the little Don't Tread on Me fucking snake as a patch on his... Jesus Christ, man.
Proceeds to tread on people.
Yeah, Don't Tread on Me.
Proceeds to step.
It's a shit. I've got a lot of goodwill for Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
I saw what you did there.
Goodwill. I'm hunting for it. Yeah, this is not one of their good ones, unfortunately. But interesting. We should maybe talk about it. I may edit this out. Just wanted to bring that movie up. Cool. Anyone got any final points before we get into categories about this big dang movie? You must have a few, Rory, we haven't touched on.
To kind of get a little bit meta, every time we've said lunar cycle, when I hear the phrase lunar cycle, I have this almost pathological impulse to mutter the phrase moonbike, because there's a banging thriller from 1995 called Copycat, featuring Sigourney Weaver, Holly Hunter, great performances in which Sigourney Weaver plays this like agoraphobic psychiatrist who was a victim of a serial killer who escaped, and there's a new serial killer, I think it's in San Francisco, who's hunting people, and Holly Hunter is the detective investigating it, and she gets a phone call, the station gets a phone call, and someone goes to Holly Hunter, oh, it's that crazy lady there who, she's on the phone again, she says the killer's on a moon bike, and Holly Hunter's like, okay, you say he's on a moon bike? She's like, it's a lunar cycle, and it's like, that film actually goes really hard, and we should consider that.
Yeah, we should consider doing that. I'm a big Holly Hunter fan, so yeah, definitely do that.
It's just Sigourney Weaver and Holly Hunter. It's a double act that you just can't miss.
Sanya, you got any observations? You've been fairly quiet for this one, probably because I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, that might have something to do with it.
Shade.
Ooh. Time
coming in hot.
Yes. No, I was quiet on the whole firearms thing because of things discussed earlier, which did not make it into the recording, thank goodness. I did read up on the filming bits on the Wikipedia article. We had the bit with the airplane earlier where they basically bribed everyone with merch so they could just hijack a commercial flight to film a scene in it. But like, I have no idea how or not really a great idea how practical full effects usually are achieved, but apparently they did a lot of random stuff for this film. Like, apparently in the end they couldn't pick him off the floor because they left him in the fake blood for so long, and it was made with corn syrup and it
Yeah.
dried. So it just, after basically spending half an hour getting shot again and again, it was and being squirted with ketchup as well. Apparently, he just stuck to the floor, and they couldn't get him off the floor again. Also, apparently, everyone on set didn't really. So they were all kind of afraid of him, and I feel like he might have. Everyone slightly being uncomfortable around him made him avoid everyone even more. And I feel like he might have made it worse with that. I'm not sure I would let that count as method acting. It probably helped in getting the vibe across.
Tell you what, I mean, to me that does sound like good method acting, and B, it's certainly better than like the dog shit method acting that Jared Leto got infamous for when it was just being a bad co-worker. Oh, I'm gonna post some used condoms to you in the mail. That's the fucking, that's not acting, that's terrorism, Jared.
Yeah.
Terrorism. Stop it. It's like
the court sentenced you to be shot.
The court sentenced you to be freed, but your career to be executed. Because let's face it, man, Jared Leto's career is kind of donezo at this point. Not even Morbius could save him.
Well, yeah, Morbius is one of the death tolls, wasn't it? Morbius, and then everything he's open since. Tron Ares is flops. Nobody wants.
he was in,
stop putting him in movies. Nobody wants to see him.
He was in Tron Ares, which flopped despite it having Gillian Anderson on the big screen in it. You know, that's how much of a box office, like, just black cloud the man is.
I think Blade Runner 2049 succeeded despite him, really, rather than because of him. You know.
Yeah. Good God.
Also, apparently they
just opinions on him end here. Go on.
Apparently they just randomly threw around glass jars to simulate the effect of the gunfire in the house.
That's cool.
Which managed to actually injure Petersen. You see, apparently he was left with a shard of glass embedded in his thigh.
That would be fantastic.
So we don't have enough blank rounds, but we're just gonna stick you with a bit of glass.
That's incredible.
For reasons.
Petersen apparently went a bit method as well. So he got so into the role of Will Graham, who himself was getting so into the role of Francis Dolarhyde, that after the movie wraps, Will Petersen went away, dyed his hair blonde, like shaved his face, and just wanted to make himself look different, so he didn't have to like. He tried to like draw a line between him and this role, you know.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
that's amazing, though.
Yeah, it's good.
Michael Mann certainly likes having his actors do the hard yards, don't they? I mean, we of course talked about the rigors that he put the two main guys from Collateral through, dispatching Tom Cruise to work undercover as a FedEx courier and having Jamie Foxx drive an LA cab. So he really does, but he doesn't sound like he's one of these directors who puts the cast through hell. He might be. I haven't read enough on him. But he doesn't sound like one of these guys who are horrible to work with. Like, I mean, I've heard Francis Ford Coppola was like legendarily painful to, work for.
I like Stanley Kubrick and stuff as well.
Yeah.
David Fincher does a lot of takes. So if you get on with him, that's great. If you don't get on with that, then you're probably not going to enjoy it very much.
He seems to do all this without having these like kind of tyrannical qualities that get some directors kind of infamous. You know,
he's got the credibility. I think the thing is with Mann is that you're not doing it because of some artist's unknowable perception of what they think the good bit of art is. They're doing it because he has a very technical mind. He wants to achieve something in a technical manner, and you're going to do the work to make sure the thing gets the outcome. But it's like something that you can quantify and measure. I think.
Yeah,
is what the difference is.
Yeah, it's competence. It's competence at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's competence, and it's his understanding that he's a real competent technician. He's an interesting mix of auteur and absolute technician.
Yeah, I think that's really accurate. Should we take a break here for
Yeah.
and then we'll come back into some categories? Welcome back. Right, let's get into the categories for this movie. Starting with casting, as we usually do. Normally we kind of skip past the main guys, but I think we'll have a quick canter through these guys because it isn't a star-studded picture, so to speak. William Petersen plays our guy, Will Graham. His other big hits that I'm aware of, To Live and Die in LA, he did the year before, another really good film that I think we'll probably end up covering on this podcast at one point in the future. He had a very small role as a bouncer in 1981's Michael Mann's movie Thief, and then he's Grissom in CSI. That's his like big credit. Dennis Farina is Jack Crawford. We love Dennis Farina. We talked about him at length. We talked about him a lot during Striking Distance, but he's fantastic. I didn't realise that he was a real cop for 18 years in the Chicago PD and was a detective before this, but that makes so much more sense. And obviously he was in Miami Vice as well, and starred in Crime Story. He made his acting debut also in Thief in 1981, a movie we have to cover in January to come. Fantastic. Brian Cox, we talked a bit about earlier on, as that's Hannibal Lecter, famous to a lot of people now as Logan Roy in Succession, I suppose, was his big recent comeback. But he's a guy who's been acting consistently for decades now, and is just in stuff all the time. He's just a great character actor, great character player. It would be almost offensive to go through his list of credits. He's been in everything from Troy to Sharp. Yeah, great actor.
Some of the greatest video game acting of all time in
Sons of Daughters, say it.
Sons and Daughters of Helgan. My people, Sons and Daughters of Helgan. Honestly, man, his role as Skolar Vazari in that film's opening cutscenes, it's a speech that I'm obsessed with, but it's literal chills. He just delivers it so well.
My people, sons and daughters of Helgan. For many years, we have been a broken nation, shunned, oppressed, and conquered by those we sought to escape. 10 years ago, I asked for time, and that time was granted by you. You, the strength in my arm, the holders of my dreams. This much I vow.
I think he's fantastic. But what I like about Brian Cox is that if you asked him about that film now, or that game, he probably wouldn't remember it. You know what I mean? He's like, you worked so much.
That probably wouldn't remember it. Or he'd be like, I was the best Helgast character in all of those cutscenes. The other actors who did it were shit. I was the best Skolar Vazari in the entire thing. Our enemies at home have been re-educated.
Fantastic.
Smash cut to people getting domed in the back of their head.
So good. 2024, he was in The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim as Helm Hammerhand. That's pretty cool, you know, to Helm Hammerhand.
My boy, Helm Hammerhand.
All my Rohirrim bros out there. Yeah, great. Fantastic actor. Fantastic. I just looked at he's known for on IMDb, and actually, yeah, Succession, Troy, adaptation as well, of course. He plays the famous author in adaptation. Yeah, fantastic. Great stuff. Kim Grace, I mentioned earlier on, as Molly Graham. She'd only really worked with Miami before on that one episode of Miami Vice, which I was going to bring up. A classic Miami Vice thing is your boy Crockett gets into a love affair with a woman. It lasts for one episode. For whatever reason, they can't be together anymore by the end of it. That pretty much happened on this one. She was also in Brazil. I mentioned that earlier on as well. Cool thing about this one is that the Miami Vice, we've talked about it before, pretty much every episode of Miami Vice at some point has a protracted long montage set to a popular bit of music from the time. It started in the very first episode with In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. We talked about it last week when we talked about Bruce McGill and his one, which was Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits. Well, Kim Greist's montage is to the song Heartbeat by Red 7. And wouldn't you know, the song that ends this very movie is Heartbeat by Red 7 as well. Also with Kim Greist in the frame. So, yeah, we'll mention that. Sure. That's maybe a needle drop more than a casting, but considering she did such little else work, it's probably worth mentioning. She was in an episode of The X-Files as well.
Yes.
Joan Allen, right. Joan Allen is again another popular American character actor that we'll see in a lot of stuff. Probably most known to guys watching this podcast for being in the Bourne movies as the handler who's trying to track down Jason Bourne in those. What else do you know Joan Allen from, guys?
Jeez.
Well, she was in the 2008 remake of Death Race 2000, just called Death Race.
Holy shit, that's the Jason Statham one, right?
Yeah, that's Jason Statham one, yeah. Didn't see that coming. Lisey's Story she was in, which is yet another Stephen King adaptation. Yeah, wow. She was in The Killing, The Bourne Legacy. Luck, which I think is a Steven Soderbergh produced thing. Pretty cool. We may all know her as the voice of Delphine from The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Oh,
I think her character looks a bit like her as well.
Jesus.
Wow, yeah. What else we got here? Yes, it's just obviously all those Bourne movies. Pleasantville. Remember Pleasantville? She was Eve Archer in Face Off. Yeah, Face Off, big one there. Cool. Stephen Lang, we talked a little bit about earlier on. So Stephen Lang is most famous now at the minute, probably still in the cinemas for the Avatar movies. So Avatar: Fire and Ash. He's the archetypal American military bad guy who then... I've not been watching these movies. I watched the first one when it came out. I take it now that he's now also one of the cat people. I don't know. And so maybe it's a voice performance from Stephen Lang now. Not sure, but he's making some good money off it. He was in that movie too.
Well, sorry, he's down as playing Quaritch so I guess he's like just right kind of... Yeah, he played Quaritch in The Way of Water. So that's Colonel Coffee Cup, right? That's the bad guy from the first one.
Yeah. So he gets... Yeah, so what happens is I think he gets shot up at the end of the first one, right?
Yeah, yes, that's right.
And I think the US, this is mental. I don't even know if it's the US, is it the Earth, the Sky people military, have their own way of making cat people. Obviously, that's how they made Jake Sully in that one. They do this, so to save his life, they put his consciousness into a big blue cat person body, right?
Right, gotcha.
Spoilers for fucking Avatar. I think that's what's happening. And then think I haven't been watching them, so don't come at me, Jimmy Cams, but James Cameron. But I think what's going to be happening in these next two movies is like he's going to be reconciling himself as I'm a giant cat person now, but I'm also like this horrible, terrible racist inside.
My God.
Am I a colonizer? Am I a white colonizer, or am I a big blue cat person? I just don't know anymore. I just don't know.
He's the galaxy's first self-hating cat person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as a deconstruction of the white savior archetype, which the film also happens to have, because fucking Sam Worthington is the white savior archetype. You know, he's the face, he's the Lieutenant fucking John Dunbar of the movie. To make a Dances with Wolves comparison.
How wild is it in hindsight that, like, I mean, you've seen the memes about this and what's happened recently in geopolitical news and national security, etc. That when that character in Avatar's introduced, it's like, oh, I see you fought in the war in Venezuela. That was some tough bush. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
So it suggests that America has been involved. Space America. Earth has been involved in a war in Venezuela for a bit more than a century at that point. Tough bush indeed.
This is an incredible way to date our podcast because the sheer rate of the news cycle is like, we could be talking about Venezuela this week. We could publish this thing. It's going to get published in about a week and a half, right?
Yeah.
By the time this is published, fuck me, man. Like, Minnesota could be fucking part of Canada. Like I could have been called up to serve on the Greenland front lines. Like, you know, and then add secret third thing none of us saw coming. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Just fucking smash cut to a close up of a busted up laptop in an apartment somewhere. We're playing on it. Camera pulls out to see that the entirety of the building's destroyed, and we're looking down on a ruined street of some nondescript city, and there's fucking mushroom clouds off in the far distance.
And it's the ink spots. I don't want to set the world on fire.
Yes.
As we pull out, war never changes.
Simply fucking intensifies and duplicates.
Jesus Christ. So Stephen Lang's top 4 is Avatar, The Way of Water, Don't Breathe, where he plays the old blind man in a house that's being home invaded, but turns out he's the real threat, I think is the story on that one. I'm not 100% sure. Manhunter. We talked about Tombstone. He's in Sisu, Road to Revenge. I need to watch those movies.
Yeah, they look badass, to be
They
fair.
look bad.
They are very unserious.
Yes.
Unserious good, unserious bad.
Entertaining unserious.
Okay.
Wait.
Great character actor. I was expecting, just scrolling for this, I was expecting a lot more westerns from someone of him. He has a return. He's right. He does one of our famous favourite Clearing President dudes thing here. He plays a president who was known as the President in the cast in a series of movies called Rogue Warfare. He's in Rogue Warfare 2, The Hunt, Rogue Warfare, Death of a Nation. All these movies, 2 of them were made in 2019. One of them was made in 2020. So back-to-back filming as the President. Incredible.
0.5 stars on Letterboxd, the 2019 Rogue Warfare. This is the one, yeah?
Yeah. A group of the best
Holy
military
shit.
personnel from the US, Russia, UK, China, and France joined forces to fight an underground terrorist network. So basically, a shit version of Rainbow Six.
What the fuck? I can't believe... Sorry, half a star. I can't believe there were 2 sequels to this. The only way I can imagine this being any worse is if everyone dressed up as Hitler and started doing impressions of people with cerebral palsy.
Standard.
In
Trump rally.
what world... God, in what world would an international counter-terrorism task force be manned by an entire squad of bumblefucks who don't like each other, have never trained together, nor have even ever fucking met? The bland monotony makes time slow to an infinite crawl. The plot is so cookie-cutter that you can mistake it for a bakery. The villain is so toothless that a newborn is more threatening. I've seen plenty of bad war movies, but even they can be slightly absolved thanks to decent acting, action, or even minor adherences to basic military protocol. Brackets, unsurprisingly, they can't even do that, close brackets. I know I shouldn't be getting bent out of shape over things like that, but it's hard not to harp on it when the rest of the movie is so, all caps, boring. I couldn't even make it halfway before I felt like a grizzly bear on speed had been jack-fucking my skull. One more time, I couldn't even make it halfway before I felt like a grizzly bear on speed had been jack-fucking my skull. I need to read that out again, it was a beautiful line. Anyway, this sucks. Heed my warning. Don't bother with it. Bars. Hold up. Aaron's writing is this fair? Thank you, Aaron. Letterboxd reviewer.
So people who often zone out during these things, that was the film Rogue Warfare that we are not covering on this podcast.
Yeah. Fucking 1 star. 1 star. All I can say is I finished the film without turning it off.
Pretty high praise.
Coming.
Yeah. Stephen Lang, also, just to wrap him up, is also in the Michael Mann movie Public Enemies as well, which is the one about John Dillinger, which I haven't seen since it came out, because it has Johnny Depp in, and he does my head in. Right. Cool. should we get some trivia for this movie?
I just want to do a little bit of crewing rather than casting. Because,
Yes, please. Sorry. Yeah, we talked about this. Do it.
Yeah, because I looked a little bit into the work of the film's cinematographer, the director of photography, whose name I've just fucking forgotten.
Dante Spinotti.
Yes. So my initial wonders looked into this guy, saying, did he work on any Giallo films that worked then like the main Giallo guys? He didn't, but his film work in like the Italian film industry He's done some off-kilter strange stuff. He's done a lot of comedies and stuff, which I find wild. But out of the films he's done that have English language Wikipedia entries, I love how just sparse these descriptions are. Disobbedienza. Disobedience is a 1981 Italian drama film directed by Aldo Lado. It's based on a novel of the same name written by Alberto Moravia. We go to its plot. The adventures of Luca Manzi, a teenager living in northern Italy during wartime. Luca Manzi is a 14-year-old boy when the fascists govern the northern Italy Republic of Salo. He becomes a partisan, but when the war ends, he's disappointed because things have not changed as he had hoped they would, and he decides to let himself die. He is saved by Edith, who tries to introduce him to sex.
Tries.
That's the whole of the plot section on the English language wiki. I bet the Italian language wiki has like 17 paragraphs, and it's all really... Who tries to introduce him to sex? She gives it the old college try.
Concerned that he's only 14 when this is happening as well.
Yeah, The Dark Side of Love. The Dark Side of Love, Italian, Fotografando Patrizia. I'm sorry for doing this when I speak Italian. By the way, for
Just
those
to
doing
get it
theatre than me, I'm doing like the Italian pinch fingers thing. I'm so fucking sorry. Fotografando Patrizia is a 1984 Italian erotic romantic drama film written and directed by Salvatore Samperi. The film, which has a scabrous main theme as an incest between a sister and a porn-obsessed brother, was a box office success. And it's just
over there.
It's just a description that comes at you from multiple angles at the same time. We've got The Legend of the Holy Drinker, Italian, La Leggenda del Santo Bevatore. I love Bevatore as drinker, that's me. It's like, warrior, a pisshead. No
Bevatore.
mother, I'm a hellraiser. Now it's no mother, I'm a Bevatore. It's a 1988 Italian film written and directed by Amano Olmi. A drunken homeless man, Rutger Hauer,
Right.
in Paris is lent 200 francs by a stranger as long as he promises to repay it to a local church when he can afford to. The film depicts the man's constant frustrations as he attempts to do so.
That sounds actually really good.
Doesn't it? And just this last one, this crazy thing. Fair Game, Italian, Mamba, is a 1988 Italian thriller horror film written and directed by Mario Orfini. After being dumped by his girlfriend Eva, who was tired of his unrelentingly negative and sexist attitude, Ian decides to take revenge by killing her with a mamba, a venomous snake, into which he also injected hormones to increase its aggressiveness. The film bombed at the Italian box office, grossing only 539.5 million lira. It was distributed in 36 foreign countries.
539 million lira, which is about 20 quid
Yeah,
in the
it's
pound
fucking
for
nuts.
that period.
Yeah, mad shit. These little stories here, these like snippets of these film are just crazy to me, and I just found that very entertaining.
Can I ask you a question, Rory O'Toole? I think I'm doing it as devil's advocate for our listeners, but also because I don't really know, because I looked it up once and then forgot about it. When we talk about Giallo movies, what are the hallmarks of a Giallo movie? And why does the movie about the 14-year-olds attempting to have sex with somebody not count?
So it sounds to me like more of like a drama, kind of post-war kind of exploration of romance, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Giallo films have these more kind of like abstract, weird, crazy plots. They have certain tropes to kind of abide to, like it's about like the psychosexual violence against women. You have elements like, you have like the idea of like masked killers, you have tropes like close-ups on gloved hands and shit like that. Extreme violence mixed with weirdly jarring, sometimes fun and playful and jazzy music. One comment I read on analysis of like the music used in Giallo films is that you can watch a film where a woman's being slowly decapitated and there's like jazz piano in the background. The idea that like they use these very stylish leads, there's lots of like kind of like the film's gaze kind of like lands upon like the fashion and the way these characters are dressed. That's kind of a big thing. It is visual and surface level, and there's lots of like storytelling with like color schemes and stuff like that. So that particular boy becomes a partisan. Hopefully he becomes of age when the lady attempts to introduce him to sex. Doesn't sound like a Giallo because it sounds a bit deeper. Like a lot of Giallos are very kind of surface level kind of thing at times. So yeah, there you go. I think like the most Giallo sounding one is probably that one with the scabrous relationship between the incestuous brother and sister, or maybe the one when the guy's a porn addicted gooner and kills his girlfriend with a mamba. However, the Wikipedia doesn't call them specifically Giallo films. It might be time for me to do a deep dive. But we aren't clear and present Gialloists, we're clear and present dudes.
Okay, yeah. Right, should we do some trivia for the movie Manhunter?
Please.
Okay, so this was a box office bomb. We talked about that already. So it was a $15 million budget. It made a box office of $8.6 million. So it took a big loss just on its original budget, not even marketing and so on. This is the first adaptation novel of Red Dragon, and it was one of several busts for producer Dino De Laurentiis. So context for him, listed on this particular trivia, it mentions Maximum Overdrive, which is the Stephen King directed and written movie about the trucks that become sentient because of a meteor, and that's insane. Just cocaine if it was a movie.
I was going to say, Stephen King, you smoke too hard, you bitch too bad, you swag too different. It'll kill you, Stephen King.
Yeah, not sober yet. Really not sober yet.
Very much.
Transformers the movie. What's not listed here, but definitely counts, is Dune from 1984. Also a part of this path of Dino De Laurentiis. Was it him or was it his daughter actually produced that one? But it's a De Laurentiis production anyway. Yeah, so De Laurentiis sold the sequel rights to Orion for like a pittance for practically nothing. And then, wouldn't you know, 5 years later, Silence of the Lambs, freaking humongous success, 5 Oscars, just like ridiculous. So yeah, interesting. We've already mentioned some of the expert casting, so that vet in the tiger scene's a real vet, and Dennis Farina is a real cop. Incredibly awesome.
Looks like they might have pulled. Sorry, it looks like they might have pulled real cops in to play the SWAT team, because you notice there was a bunch of guys just credited as officer, etc. Bunch of dudes with credits whose name included the title officer. So I wonder if Michael Mann, in his kind of quest for realism, just like took on like a bunch of cops to play like the SWAT team for like the attempted capture scene when he accidentally mugs a guy. Because again, it seems like Michael Mann, realism and attention to detail, but I can't see any confirmation of it on the internet.
Yes, no. Yeah, I don't want to spread misinformation, but it's certainly possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
This movie in France, its French title translates to The Sixth Sense. So if you're French and you're trying to watch the M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Sixth Sense, you may find yourself watching Manhunter instead, which is quite fun. Praise their backlash. Brian Cox has never regretted playing this role, but he has expressed disdain to how the character has become idolised and is treated as an anti-hero by both fans and the official media. To him, Hannibal Lecter is very much a monster and remains a monster. That's interesting.
Jesus.
This one's quite quaint. Tom Noonan began bodybuilding in preparation for his role because he wanted to be a bit buff because he thought the size of him intimidated people, and that's how you should be perceived. I think if you're anybody in a movie nowadays and you're going to have to get your shirt off, you're expected to be like jacked. Yeah, I haven't seen I haven't seen a normal shirtless body in film as long as I can remember.
Yeah. The guy who plays the Truth Fairy in the Hannibal TV series is swole. He is ripped. The dude's got some fucking back gains. The dude's backspiration, man. Tom Noonan, like, is the kind of guy who he looks like he doesn't even need to lift because he's like, right. There is a phenomenon of men who are tall thinking they're hard just because they're tall. You know what I mean? And it's obviously not the case, because I mean, I once saw this like big, like fucking 6'4" guy on an night out in two and get dismantled by this like fucking 5'5" Raji. But Tom Noonan looks double hard and probably would even without like having to train, you know?
Absolutely. Another Tom Noonan fact is into the shooting, Michael Mann initially had Francis Dolarhyde have a ginormous tattoo of a red dragon on his chest and back.
Yeah.
So they filmed a shit ton of stuff with this ginormous chest and back piece on Tom Noonan. And then he decided during the shooting that actually I'd prefer it without, because I guess there's like an implied confidence and ability to operate in public for a man to go off and get like a ginormous chest and back piece, which is a bit cool and edgy. And I guess this guy is in his own life a bit of a quiet, reserved nerd and is a bit antisocial. So they thought it would be a bit weird for him to actually have that. So they removed that from the movie. There's another scene that they didn't do, which is in the book, which is whilst he's struggling with his newfound love relationship with Reba, the character tries to get rid of his tendencies by finding the painting that he's obsessed with. He's obsessed with William Blake's painting of the red dragon and the woman bathed in gold sun or something it's called. And he goes to the museum where the painting's been displayed and steals it and eats it.
Yeah, I think it fits. I think it totally works. He doesn't like to be beheld by people unless it's in his like kind of specific way that he wants to be seen by them. So to like sit through multiple hours of tattoo work to get like a back and chest piece wouldn't feel within his like kind of character's motivations and the way he thinks and acts. So very good call, mate, I think.
I've got some casting trivia that I didn't go through, but so one of the FBI techs is played by Chris Elliott. Do you know Chris Elliott is Cabin Boy? You familiar with the movie Cabin Boy?
I am not.
He is, right, what else is he? He was an SNL guy. He was also in, he's the cameraman in Groundhog Day. He's annoying Phil Connors all the time. So he's this comedy actor, and he was in this famous flop called Cabin Boy.
Chris Elliott, yes, I've just pulled him up, and yes,
yeah,
he is an eternal that guy.
Yeah, so he's in it. So that's very weird. There's some other casting what could have been. So Brian Cox was not the first choice for Hannibal Lecter. Brian Denny was in the loop to play Hannibal Lecter, and he was the one who recommended Brian Cox to the production. So Brian Denny, Rambo First Blood, very big imposing guy. Normally plays a big cop or something and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was in there. Other people on the list to play Hannibal Lecter in this movie: Bruce Dern, John Lithgow, who was Jonathan Denny's also second choice for the role, but didn't get selected. Mandy Patinkin as well.
Holy crap.
And then also Michael Mann considered, and this is my favourite one, Michael Mann also considered William Friedkin to do the acting as... Could you imagine that? William Friedkin.
Holy crap.
So that's William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist and Cruising, is the real life, I think he's the real life inspiration for Garth Marenghi. Yeah. Like...
No doubt.
Fantastic. For the role of Will Graham, the studio really wanted Don Johnson to play him. I don't think that would have worked, in my personal opinion, but he was obviously on his high from being in the sensation that is Miami Vice.
Yeah.
And the role of Sonny Crockett is also kind of similar in the sense that he's like an undercover cop who's struggling with becoming too undercover and losing track of the way out. But in that show, it's so light touch. Like, they talk about it, but then he doesn't live. You don't see him suffering it at all. He just has these like occasional phone calls where he's like, "You get yourself so far in there, you don't know if you're going to come back out again. I don't even know who I am, and sometimes I remember I'm Sonny Crockett." And all this kind of shit. And it's just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and like, I mean, in contrast, this film is just a long, dark night of the soul.
Yeah, Don Johnson is like effortlessly. He's too cool as well, which is not that's not an insult to your man. Just like he's saying he's not cool, but Don Johnson is just too cool. And the box office, I think, like the audience would have been expecting something a bit different from Don Johnson. I think if they saw him, like I think they'd be. I mean, not that this movie succeeded anyway, but like, Jesus, people were kicked off. I think, and it might have harmed Don Johnson's career.
Yeah, because you're right, he is too cool. I mean, like people would have been like, hold on, he's wearing like a pastel colored t-shirt and a suit jacket with the sleeves rolled up. Why? Because this film's because he would just like slip back into his mode and turn up in his own gear from Miami Vice, like, when I told it to your man, it's like, oh no, I've just become Crockett.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on an insanely huge amount of cocaine right now. I can't remember where I am. I can't. Jesus Christ.
My God,
I'm about to go and marry a 15-year-old. Like, what the fuck?
Jesus Christ. No fucking way.
Yeah, I'm not fully versed on the story, so I don't want to say anything too dodgy. But look up the story of Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith, and then get back to me. Cool. Right. Other people suggested for Will Graham: Jeff Bridges, Harrison Ford, Richard Gere, Mel Gibson, Carl McLaughlin, which I think is a De Laurentiis production thing where that's come from.
Yeah.
Paul Newman and Mickey Rourke also considered. Of all those people, I think Mickey Rourke would have done pretty well.
I think he would have. Also,
sorry, one more Don Johnson fact. Also, Don Johnson considered for the role of Francis Dolarhyde. would have absolutely stank that place out.
He would have biffed it. That would have been really fucking bad.
Yeah, that would have been awful. Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely no chance.
oh, look at me. I'm Dollarhide. I'm played by one of the fucking coolest dudes in the 1980s. I just can't get any pussy, man. I've got to kill people because of it. No.
You here to watch this? Witness my becoming. I'm gonna like what the no. Hey, do you like tigers? I'm gonna like what?
What?
Yeah, wild.
I'm just imagining him like fucking one-handing a shotgun like Tom Noonan does, and just because he hasn't got the size, it just like the recoil is not controllable. It just hits him in the fucking face.
Yeah. I like the idea of Don Johnson had been Dollarhide and said instead of taking Reba to go and see a tiger, he would have like taken her to like to stroke an alligator.
Yeah. He would.
This is my pet Reggie.
He would have took her out on a fucking speedboat.
Yeah.
Which would not be, I mean, I guess should get the sound and the sensation of the sea air and stuff.
Yeah.
But really, she's just bumping around at a rapid pace.
Bumping around, yeah.
He could do that in like a 4x4, just on a fucking vacant lot, you know. And it's like, come on, man.
Amazing. God. You ever tried cocaine? Oh my God, just wild.
Man, he wouldn't be the red dragon, he'd be the white dragon if you get me.
Michael Mann was not the first choice to direct this movie, and David Lynch was an early consideration for the role of director, because he was still under contract with De Laurentiis after Dune. However, David Lynch rejected this role, finding the story to be, quote, violent and completely degenerate.
I love David Lynch so good.
Violent. It's completely degenerate. Hot, this is kettle colour check over. Like, this is from the same man who 5 years later would make fucking Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me and Wild at Heart and fucking Blue Velvet. So show me a film that is more violent and degenerate than Blue Velvet. I think I love that.
Fucking love him so much, honestly.
He's so good. Yeah, he's like, I'll make a movie about a killer, but not your killer.
Yeah. This one's degenerate. This I love.
This I love. Yeah, I love this. The idea that, like...
My degeneracy is way more tasteful than yours, sir.
Yeah. Like, Ray Wise comes in, it's like, you're sweet. And then, like, Tom Noonan walks in, is like, hello, human resources? Like,
bloody hell. Woo!
Cool, that's as much trivia as I can stomach. Gentlemen, weapons free. Rory O'Toole, I want you to talk to me about weapons in this movie. You've got opinions.
Holy shit. Yeah, and I think most of my opinions are good about this. I'm not going to be like, the guns are wrong kind of thing. For a start, so this film actually stars Jim Zubiena, who you may remember, Mike, from last year when I sent you that video clip of that incredibly rapid Mozambique drill from an episode of Miami Vice.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. Jim Zubiena is an American competitive shooter. He's a marksman who's worked with Michael Mann a lot. He played an assassin in an episode of Miami Vice, an incredibly iconic performance by him, leading lots of people on YouTube to say, if you get in a car in Miami and your driver's wearing yellow shooting glasses, get out of the car. Jim Zubiena's in the film and provides Will Graham with special ammunition to take out Francis Dollarhide, which is a real thing he's talking about. He is talking about a kind of a frangible ammunition. The blue-tipped ammo that he provides refers to as Glaser safety slugs. Glaser safety slugs are a real... Glaser safety ammunition is a real product. They make made ammunition chamber, I think, up from 22 long rifle up to 30-06. Basically, rounds that were like a regular bullet with a kind of a polymer cap. Behind that polymer cap, a fuck ton of birdshot.
Right.
So they're essentially rounds designed for like causing deep penetrating wounds on people, kind of like the design not to ricochet badly inside buildings and close quarters and stuff like that. He makes a big deal that these are for a guaranteed one-shot stop, despite him having used multiple. Yeah, I think it's a cool thing. Some of the explanation he gives is a bit wrong. He tells him that it's got like, I think a Teflon round in it or something. No. He says it's got a Teflon round in it, I believe. And, or does he say polymer? Actually, can't remember now. Let me just double check my notes and shit. Yeah, that's right. He says that the suspended in liquid Teflon and upon impact opens all up in the target, a guaranteed one-shot stop. That's not kind of how they work. There was discourse about Teflon-coated bullets in the US media at the time in terms of being armor-piercing things, but no, there's a polymer in these rounds. Whether at this point it was capping the end of it and was full of birdshot, or they had it when there was like a polymer ball in it on further iterations with birdshot behind it, much like kind of like the old school buck and ball loadout that have with muskets and stuff. I think that's really fucking cool. It's really cool to see Tom Noonan one-handing that shotgun, which was Jim Zubiana's from home. He brought that in himself. That was his personal weapon. The Jim Zubiana brought in the shotgun for Tom Noonan to use, which I thought was incredibly slick. Recent appearance of the night vision scopes on the police marksman that I couldn't fucking identify. It really upset us. That was painful. But yeah, I love just some like the shots as well, like the fucking appearances of like the kind of I'm looking down at this down the barrel image of Will Graham pointing his Charter Arms 44 Bulldog at the camera. It's in focus. He's kind of blurry, and you can see those special blue tip bullets in it, which I think is really cool. The Charter Arms Bulldog was actually the weapon that the Son of Sam killer used. So this is a book initially written about a serial killer who was called the 44 caliber killer, wasn't he, along with the Son of Sam killer?
Yeah.
But it was written only a few years after I think Son of Sam's killing spree ended, and the hero of the book is using the exact same weapon that the Son of Sam, that David Berkowitz used.
I did read that.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, I did read that Tom Harris had bedded in with some FBI profilers and stuff and research for the book.
Yeah, so I found that really cool. And like I said, there's just the guns in it. Realistically picked for the era. You've got the Cold Commando, the XM177 assault rifle that the SWAT guys are using. There's one guy with an Uzi, because Uzis are fucking cool. Yeah, I like the guns in this film.
Cool.
Like I said, I especially like there's an appearance made by him, Jim Zubiana. I like it's interesting. Kind of granularity about the ammunition and stuff, and it kind of gets most of the explanation of frangible rounds right without going in actually frangible rounds, here's why they're so good, like I just did. You see what I mean?
So I was looking at I just did a very bit of quick look at it, frangible rounds and stuff. First of all, I was going to see, are they legal for civilian use? Several states apparently have banned them in the US, and you can't get them in the UK anymore. I think you used to be able to get them in the UK. I was reading some blog posts here where someone had managed to get some off a former SAS operator who'd been allowed to have them or something for some reason. They were looking at what would the legal standing be if you, even if you did a killing in self-defense, defense of your property or your home or whatever, but you had these rounds, how would it make you appear to a jury or in a court of law? Because this person is saying, well, I think I'd be reluctant to face a coroner's inquest or a grand jury and have to explain why I used a non-standard pistol round or a round designed to cause the maximum damage, when I suppose what you're trying to do is deter people from hurting your end an engagement. You're not necessarily trying to kill them, because if you're a civilian doing self-defense, you're probably not operating to the same doctrine that you would in the military or in law enforcement, which is to bring somebody down to prevent grave and imminent danger, and there's no way to prevent the danger and shoot to kill, which is center of mass kind of thing. I think if you're a civilian, it's a grey area where, and obviously again, if you're in the military and law enforcement, you are using the ammunition that you're provided with. So unless you've deviated from it there, in which case that's definitely an indicator that something's fucky's going on. I think as a civilian, I think you'd have a hard time explaining why I used a non-standard round to effect a kill, which it sounds like, well, why did you have that ammunition in the first place? Why are you using this?
Yeah, absolutely.
I get that. I understand that. And then they said here, what you would probably do is, or most police departments are using pretty good ammunition that provides more than adequate stopping power, and being able to state to a jury that you use gold dots or whatever because you checked to see what the local police department was using and choose to use that ammo because you're doing what the experts are doing, kind of thing. That probably sits easier than saying, oh, I deviated and went for something that sounds cool. Obviously, the nearest kind of comparison I could make off the top of my head hearing that is the process of taking a regular ball ammunition and then scoring the top to make a dum-dum bullet, to use the bullet's casing as part of the projectile inside the body to create shrapnel, which is that's not legal, and obviously you're modifying the rounds then, and put them into an unsafe condition. This sounds like ammunition that's designed to do that by design, to affect that effect, and obviously that's viewed pretty negatively.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the main reason why they kind of like had pushed it out there was the idea that in the case of like ricochets, it's not likely to ricochet because it's essentially like a smaller projectile with a significant amount of like birdshot behind it.
Yeah. I think there was a case in Florida that someone defended their home using this kind of ammunition, and I think the media reported it as using exploding bullets, which doesn't,
Jesus
that
Christ.
doesn't good for you.
I just imagine the kind of damage these things in fucking 30-06 would do, though, because I mean, like, you know, like it's like full power rifle round. That would be crazy. Yeah, like it's like a lot of what you're referring to. It's like I've like done a lot of like reading up on this and just kind of hung around within discourse about the ideas of like, does it speak to premeditation in terms of like defending yourself in court? So like, for instance, I saw some discourse about a guy who's a civilian in the States, obviously, whose personal concealed carry weapon was a semi-automatic of some kind. I'm actually not super good like identifying pistols. I'm more of like, that's X kind of rifle. But so it was some kind of largely generic semi-automatic, but he'd had it color-coded with like pictures of the Joker and like all the ha stuff on the grips. So it's like, yeah, if you use that to defend yourself, any jury is going to be like, well, any lawyer is going to say to the jury, this guy went out wanting to shoot someone. He's gussied up his gun to ridiculous degrees. He's got a picture of the fucking Joker on it. This guy didn't want to de-escalate, didn't want to put himself out of the position. He's just killed the dude, kind of thing. And like there's like just like more subtle things like I've heard about like cops having fucking Bible verses engraved on the guns and like saying like, no dude, fucking don't, because you were gonna go to jail forever even if you get involved in like a legitimate officer involved shooting, because they're gonna fucking pull out. And it's like, oh, John 3:16, okay, so you wanted to kill this guy. And it's like, it is interesting. So I think that's why using anything that can be deemed as like special, sexy, cool ammunition, you know,
Yeah.
could be taken as like, well, this guy didn't just want to defend himself, right? He wanted to have fun with it, and he wanted to see someone die in a cool, interesting way.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think if you use any funky ammunition like this, you're standing yourself into danger. I mean, fuck me, man. What are we talking about here? Don't shoot people.
Imagine like the kind of behavior of like a responsible, mature gun owner who knows the fucking fatal capability of his weapon would be to use like a standard weapon that they're familiar with and trained with to shoot to stop the threat, usually meaning to kill. But when you like put in ideas of like, I'm using this really cool like fucking birdshot kind of stuff, which does sound cool as fucking, I guess, safe for CQB if you are going to accidentally get ricochets and stuff, you are going to you're going to open yourself up to someone saying, well, this guy's clearly, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, this guy went out of his way to buy the more expensive ammo that's really cool and gets talked about on the film Manhunter, you know, because not only did he want to stop the threat, he wanted to have fucking fun doing it, and he thinks about it more than he should.
Yeah, I think there's a very fine line, probably on a spectrum, a continuum of being a responsible gun owner and doing your research, and then tipping into like, oh, you're doing too much research. Now you're getting too into it, and now you're there's the responsible gun owner, and then there's like you're a gun nut is what you are.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's like I kind of like said, like discourse I've seen between people talking about like in the States, obviously open carry, concealed carry, just having self-defense weapons in general. It's like the idea is you want to look like you can say, I've done all this training, I've gone to these courses, I'm not carrying a weapon that's got pictures of the Jared Leto fucking Joker on it, you know, and this makes me not a gun nut. The automatic fucking snarl Mike just did there when the Jared Leto Joker was mentioned was fantastic, just for those of us doing theatre of the mind and not watching the video.
Yeah, not even the Jack Nicholson fucking joke it. Right,
Yeah.
Right, we've talked about guns too much.
Wow. Needle
drops. Okay, so the soundtrack to this movie is by a band called The Reds. They're from Philadelphia. They haven't got a lot of output, a few records, but there's not a lot about them online. I tried to find out about them online, and I couldn't find a great deal. Nevertheless, the soundtrack does sound like prior Michael Mann soundtracks. He's used Tangerine Dream before, and this doesn't sound a million miles away from that. Big synth-heavy stuff, non-diegetic, very in-your-face soundtrack. And there's a piece of music called Will Graham's theme, which is I think you can find recreations of on Spotify and other good streamers. So it gives you a bit of a flavour for it. But yeah, weird. Couldn't find that. And then the other two big Neil drops, I'll mention Heartbeats again, which is the track that plays over the end by an artist called Red 7, a different artist. There's the Reds and Red 7. Jesus Christ. From different cities, so not the same artist. The other big one is In La Gara Vida,
baby.
Yeah. Which, I don't know about you.
Banger.
I don't know about you, but my main frame of reference for that is that one episode of The Simpsons where they play it on the organ in the church for ages and ages and ages.
Yeah. It's such a good song. It's always been the most iconic needle drop in the film for me. In general, I think it's just one of the goated songs ever in the history of rock music.
So out there compared to the rest of the soundtrack, which is very synth based and 80s sounding.
It's almost a jarring kind of dissonance between that and the rest of the soundtrack, which I think makes it even punchier.
Yeah, and it kind of highlights that he's Dollarhide's kind of out of step with the rest of the world as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's no kind of idea. There's no film that Dollarhide is a man out of time or not linked to like the zeitgeist of the era, apart from that film, apart from that song, which is from a different decade, from like a different generation at this point. And there's no kind of he's like a man out of time, out of space kind of thing. But with this song being so jarringly different, it shows how out of society and out of normality he is.
Chess and the Mess, which is a new category that you missed, Sanye, that we introduced last week. So catch you up on it. VHS and the Mess is, would this movie play well in the wardroom or the senior rates mess or the junior rates mess on a ship, knowing not only is it a good movie, is it like a bankable blockbuster movie, is it the kind of movie that lots of people could sit around and enjoy, or is it just a bit too weird? What do you think?
I think it's a bit too weird, to be honest. Like animated kids movies, actually. Those tend to be very popular because they're lighthearted and break the mood. I don't know. I think this is a bit too much for a relaxed get together with a few drinks or something while you're on board, and especially underway. It's like, I haven't seen shit for 2 weeks. Let me put on this really weird serial killer catching film that gives us all extra anxiety.
It's not pitch perfect, is it?
Not really, no. I mean, maybe in The Office's mess, because there's always that one weirdo who has to do that, but yeah, but not like not in the senior reads. I didn't, or anything like that. No.
Yeah, it's normally like your more standard. If there's gonna be a crime thriller, it'll be like Fast and Furious or something.
Yeah.
What was the last film you guys both saw in the mess? Not necessarily watched, just like was aware of and glanced at the screen perhaps when going through. I'm not asking which was the last one you sat down and just drank in. But
I do remember this.
Witnessed, yeah.
The last film I sat down and watched in the mess from start to finish was Die Hard.
Kino, Sanya?
I don't remember because the last time that was 4 years ago. Last Officer's Mess was too busy hating each other to spend time watching a film together.
Navy moment.
Yeah, I think it was actually some animated kids film they were going to watch. That was in the PO's mess 3 years ago. Not 4, but still, I don't remember the title. I think it was something Disney.
Like Frozen or Moana or something, yeah.
Yeah, so very, very light-hearted.
If they made a video game of Manhunter, what kind of video game would they make?
Very bizarre, abstract, full-motion video RPG released on the Philips video that bombs completely.
Wow, that's a very specific answer. I like that. So, who are you? Are you playing as Graham?
You're playing as Will Graham. And you're going through like cutscenes and stuff and like full motion video kind of like stuff as you're seeing things from inside Dollarhide's kind of mind kind of thing. You're kind of getting more in touch with his mindset as you get closer and closer to the end game. You know, I've never played an FMV game all the way to the end, so I don't quite know how these things generally climax.
I've played a few, actually.
Yeah,
So there's the original X-Files FMV game.
I didn't even know there was one.
Mate,
Jesus.
you need to look that up. It is incredible. So they filmed so much footage for it. Mulder and Scully are in it for a short period of time.
Yeah.
You can play. You can choose between who you play as, but you play as a different agent.
Yeah,
And Mulder and Scully disappear, and you're investigating their disappearance, right?
yeah, right.
But you can go around interviewing people and talking to people and like looking at stuff you go through different rooms, you can click on objects and stuff. And they spent so much time. This is classic where they put like a lot of effort into the front end of the game and then it kind of trails off towards the back end. But yeah, you can like click on a stapler in a room and they'll have recorded a footage of a guy going, "Hey, that's my stapler, leave it alone." And like just shit like that. It's like they've put too much effort in all the wrong stuff. But yeah,
That's fantastic.
good pull.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to say, are you familiar with the games of David Cage, such as Rain and Fahrenheit and Beyond Two
Where have
Souls
you
and
read?
Detroit? Yeah, okay. Is he French? David Cage? I think he's French for the company Quantic Dream. And before, like, Heavy Rain is like the most acceptable kind of popular one that did really well, despite the fact that it's got all those cringy memes like Jason, Sean, all that stuff. But David Cage is like he's one of those he is French, yeah. It's one of those filmmakers who wants to make games that are like movies and look like movies. Okay, which is you're starting in bad faith. You're making a medium to try and make it into a different medium, right? But he did this game called Fahrenheit where you play this guy and it starts amazingly. You've just committed a murder in a diner because you've been like possessed or something by some kind of evil spirit. And then you immediately have to start covering up the murder straight away and getting out the diner. And there's police in the diner just having a meal. And you've got to like tidy up the bathroom because it happened in the bathroom. You've got to like hide the body somewhere and clean up the bathroom and then escape somehow before. And then it has like a split screen thing that happens where like a policeman gets up and is like, "I'm going to the bathroom now." And like starts walking towards you. You're like, shit. Starts really strong. And then just like it falls off. It does like all these like quick time scenes things. So you got to like hit the button right in the right order kind of thing to make stuff happen. And there's a whole bit where you're the same character in his apartment and he picks up a guitar and you got to like play the guitar to the same like to some rock music that he's put on, and it's just like, what is this?
That sounds amazing though.
It's very interesting. It's not boring.
Nice.
You start as this guy who's been possessed by an evil spirit. You end the game as the internet. Don't ask me how.
Ah, yes.
So that's the game I think this
What?
would be like. It's French, Sanye. But it's set in like Chicago. Wild.
Okay, so my idea would be so basically not very high resolution click and read horror game.
Yeah.
Because I can see, like yesterday, you talked a lot about different scenes quoting other images and paintings and whatnot, and I could really see that working out as slightly pixelated stills in a video horror game where you have either some voiceover or you've got to do some context reading, and you don't really get a lot of "I have to walk here," and it's not very flashy. It's more music and vibes based.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Vibes is a big one. Vibes is a really big one for this Sanya. That's a really good pull, dude.
So you could be like inspecting all the packs of the previous cases, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So, like,
something
put
like
together
that,
clues.
where you just have a top-down perspective of a desk with a bunch of different files on it that you can click through.
There's a
Or
game-
you have like that scene with Lecter in his cell where you just have him staring at you
So
with a weird
cool.
voiceover, or you have to read something in parallel.
That's cool. I like that. I like a sort of old adventure
Dig
game.
that. I
There's a
really
game-
dig.
It's a game that came out last year, but it looks it has like the vibe of something that came out a lot older. But apparently did really well, called The Root Trees Are Dead. And it's like a murder mystery kind of game where you've got like all the clues, you've got to put together the family trees, and it's like you're looking through newspaper clippings and like other bits and bobs to get all that information to put together the mystery. I kind of like that. Yeah, that's cool. I think that sounds really cool. Corey, before I forget, would you like to look through the notes from the peanut gallery?
Let's see what our friends on Letterboxd think about this film. We'll begin with reviews. Just 1 star for this film. 1 star. He caught a serial killer using vibes and bad lighting. 1 star. The only thing I take away from this movie is that William Petersen really pulls off wearing shorts. Another 1 star. Still the worst thing I've ever watched. See, this is a polarizing movie, man. Man is probably, another 1 star, sorry, my least favourite major director. Manhunter feels like a long Miami Vice episode. Disagree. The acting is subpar from everyone. There were line deliveries in there where I thought you didn't want to do another take. The blood in the final showdown looked like a ketchup squirting from the bottle.
No comment.
No comment. I can't stand the lead's acting. The first time I watched this, I turned it off after the scene in the tree.
Yeah.
And people love this movie. QT said it's one of the 6 good movies of the 80s. The 6 good movies of the 80s is savage, by the way.
That's insane.
Is QT Quentin Tarantino?
Yeah, and he's a fucking idiot. Like, no way.
He's the kind of guy who would say there are only 6 good movies in the whole 80s. Yeah,
and they'll
okay.
all be shit as well. Apart
Yeah.
from, obviously, Manhunter, which we love.
Yeah. I don't see the appeal. Maybe in 1986 this was groundbreaking for a serial killer movie. Now Manhunter is drowning in broken VHS tapes and nostalgia. 2-star zone now. I'm not sure what kind of magical context the first 10 minutes that I missed of this movie had, but damn was I lost. What the actual hell is going on? 3 tomato emojis. What if a serial killer just needs to date a baddie and he would stop? Another 2-star. A film called Manhunter by Mr. Man should never have been allowed. A great 2-star here. What a load of hogwash and poppycock. The fucking view of some Victorian guy.
It's a hogwash.
We're now into the 3-star reviews. 3 stars. Psycho yuppie glam. In the final scene, Will Graham is wearing the sluttiest, shortest shorts I've ever seen on a man. These older movies are tough for me to get into, but this is pretty solid by the end. That's the epitome of a 3-star review, actually. If you exclude the slutty shorts bit, which is like, good for its time, nothing to rhyme.
Right. Okay.
3 stars. 6'7", my man should have been in the league. Hour. 3 stars. Free on Tubi, my ass. Movie had like 12 ads in it. While laughably dated, this gets an extra 1/2 star of a red dragon because Will felt like a real human, grappling with some complicated issues instead of just being the perfect detective. Also, him jumping through the glass door in the climax and landing nose to nose with Dollarhide was sick as fuck and felt very earned. It was. Another 3-star reviews. Jump through window. Very 80s, not his best, good-looking film, good story, but a bit silly at points. We have got into the 4-star zone now. 4 stars from Tianis Papadopoulos, who opines, cool shit. Alfonso Alves, 2 stars, opines, I love you, Michael Mann. Dog's Breath 25. Will Graham, gun in hand, running headfirst through a floor-to-ceiling window towards the unarmed killer is one of the decisions of all time. Was he planning on just tackling Dollarhide? 3 question marks. And in slow motion, no less. Unmistakably 80s and unmistakably Michael Mann. The real Raymond Garrity, 4 stars, says, I want to lick Will Graham up and down. Drooling emoji. There ain't no way Hannibal didn't be like, dang, I want to eat that man. Why did they redo that movie shot for shot when this one delivers pretty well, says Horror Poppins with a 4-star review. April in Condenser gives 4 stars and says, made a girl come while watching this.
Wow.
Good drills. Other Clutter, with 4 stars, says, hunt more. Just hunt more. No further guidance to us. Just hunt more. 4 stars from Jabui. It's called Manhunter because the man hunt the man. Michael the man, Hunter man the hunt. 4.5 now. You're telling me a guy with a house like that gets no bitches? Multiple question marks and exclamation box at the end of that review. In 5 stars. Happy 2026, I wish it was 1986. The most 80s movie ever. There's a moment where Petersen crashes through a window in slow motion to 80s dad rock, and it's maybe the most beautiful series of images ever put to screen. The vibes are simply unmatched, and blue has never blued so blue. This is aged in all the right ways, says George Webster with a 5-star. Someone named Stone Menegal says basically the most underrated thriller of all time. And just a really great take. I'm not going to read the whole review because it's like a really long one from someone called American Friendo, who's generally written a good review here, but a great line here. Brian Cox's Lecter is such a different animal than the Lecter Anthony Hopkins made so famous. You feel like Cox was a working class genius whose intellect came with the weight of insanity. A gourmand who worked his way through school as a line cook. I like that. Yeah. I like that bit of headcanon someone's done there. It's kind of fucking cool. So yeah, There you go. The fans love the film and hate the film in equal amounts.
Polarizing. Yeah.
Polarizing, deeply polarizing.
Is this movie CIA pro or anti?
Unclear, I'd say. I generally say this movie is not anti having access to various swaths of people's data to catch people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say it makes the FBI at least look very competent.
But not in a kind of heroic fashion, just in the these are good, skilled technicians who know how to do a job that involves the apprehension of criminals and the prevention of further crime. So I think this is possibly a very neutral film towards federal government agencies insofar as it shows the FBI as being good at the job.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't lionize them.
Yeah.
Maybe in a way that Silence of the Lambs does.
That's a good point.
It certainly portrays the feds more heroically than this film. If anything, most fatal sacrifice in this film comes from local law enforcement.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, okay. So we're going to call that inconclusive.
I'd say inconclusive, yeah.
Right, so we're still 8-3 against at the minute, with everyone else being inconclusive.
Out of all the films I expected to be marked as largely centrist, it wouldn't be a Michael Mann film.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see how that plays out, I guess, next January with Michael Mann. Cool. Final category then, guys. The Ding Chavez Award for Missed Opportunity of the Movie. What do you guys got for me?
I'll let you guys go first for this one, because I've talked a lot of these categories.
Sanye?
Well, it's not really a missed opportunity. I was a bit surprised by the way they took on the kidnapping and subsequent killing of that reporter, which was tied to a chair, and I sort of expected that scene to become very uncomfortable immediately after that recording. But then it was just a cat, and I was like, okay, what happened?
Yeah.
I guess we will never know. And then he's just burning in a wheelchair. That was, while it's not a good way to go, that was way less graphic than I had somehow anticipated.
I think the whole film is less graphic than you...
Yeah.
You hear a lot about these horrible things that have happened, but you don't see any of them. And I don't know if that's a deliberate choice by the filmmaker to tone it down or to have it be more haunting because we're thinking about it more than we're seeing it. But there's a lot of telling and not showing. I don't know if I want to see it all.
Yeah, I certainly don't, but it caught me as a surprise.
One of the most graphic things to me in the film, it's probably not what you're thinking actually, but hear me out. It's that very kind of like psychedelic kind of scene when you're seeing the woman and like her eyes are just like absent and glowing and stuff, and it's like, because you know that's like within the killer's mind, that's what he's putting over something really, really fucking horrible.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's one of the kind of, it isn't graphic, but it kind of gets under your skin because you know that what you're seeing is how the killer, whether it be through hallucinations, because I think the film does like suggest that he's schizophrenic, or whether it's just his mental way of coping with it, is that like he's projecting this over his actual experience of just doing something really fucking awful to this woman's dead body. Yeah. As far as missed opportunities, for me, much like Collateral, it's a Michael Mann film that doesn't really seem to leave you thinking, what else could it have fitted in and still worked well? So I'm going to go down just the kind of lighthearted way and say this film needed more close-up, and film needed, in general, Michael Mann precise close-up footage of turtles being hatched, because... After all, Will Graham's got a little turtle hatchery, and at the end of the film, he does say most of them made it. So, and I know that's like, you know, a metaphor for saving people, but not everyone gets saved. I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards. But yeah, it would nice to see some like Michael Mann animal footage, a Michael Mann wildlife documentary just snuck in there.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. My only missed opportunity, I think, and I mentioned it earlier on, is I think Reba McClane, June Allen's character, could have had a little bit more, just a tiny little bit more coverage, just so we understand her a little bit more. I think she was a bit sidelined.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, cool. Right, wow. That draws Michael Mannuary to an end. And also this edition of Clear and Present Dudes. So next we have The Sum of All Fears. We're getting back on the St. Tom of Clancy bus. And we're going to go and see a nuclear weapon be destroyed. Well, let's not spoil it for people who haven't seen The Sum of All Fears from 2002. But wow, what a film. Dropped at a mad time. Yeah, cool. I've been Mike. I've been joined by Rory O'Toole. He's waved.
Yeah.
Sorry, podcast.
You know, yes, it's not a Teams meeting, Rory. It's the podcast. Yes, hi. It's been great once again joining my two incredibly good friends here, Meg and Sanya, talking about this amazing film. It's so nice to have the team back together with Sanya back online. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And Sanya,
who once again apologizes for making a mess of his personal schedule the last time and going entirely and unexplainably absent without leave. I don't know what was getting into my head there. I'll make sure to be around the next time as well.
Good.
I've said that now. Now I have set myself up for failure. No, thank you all for joining in, and thanks for having me back, guys.
Excellent. Okay, cool.
You're part of the team, man. We would never not have you back, buddy.
Brilliant. Thank you everybody for listening. Please remember to like and subscribe and comment and do any bit of engagement you feel necessary. Comments and emails are also very welcome at clearandpresentdudes@gmail.com. Join us on the socials, and all that is left to say is that, gentlemen, we have been Clear and
Present Dudes.
Peace out.